I think we're live now. All right. I think people can hear me. I hope people can hear me. But yeah, but yeah. Oh, okay, perfect, perfect. Welcome to another edition of Two Guys, a Girl, and a Tea. I am not with my usual co-host today, but I am with the lovely Meryl and the wonderful Stevie.
The
And today,
steviest Steve that ever
Stevie
thieved.
Steve to ever live. And today,
Never will Steve.
yeah.
Steve, you'll ever Steve.
Yeah, okay, amazing. Massive shout out to everyone that's in the chat. I see you.
I
Chunky
see
Chairs is here.
Ches.
Ches is
Hi,
here.
Ches.
And also Hub Buskins is here. If you're also in the chat, do let us know uh how you're feeling, what you want to say, if you in the chat box. And yeah, today's gonna be a big one. It's gonna be a big topic. And it is the one and only Hogwarts Legacy. Now, before we go into this topic, we have been talking about cancellations. Last on the last show, on the last show, we talked about cancellations in regards to allegations, how people react to hearing allegations, how people um just basically having a mistrust for the court system sometimes, have a mistrust for the system sometimes, kind of overreacting where the system is possibly the best one we have. That's what we are talking about on the other show as well as other speech. But on this episode, we are primarily focusing on speech and the cancellations around speech. There's been so many things that has been happening for the past few years leading up to this moment in terms of people getting cancelled off old tweets. We saw that with Kevin Hart and the Oscars. And
James Gunn had that as well,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like there was that Andrew Tate as well cancelled completely for speech, and we were talking about him. We were even talking about his speech.
Yeah, he was entirely deplatformed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I before we go into the subject, what do you think about that deplatforming? Like, did you actually agree with that deplatforming?
I have mixed feelings because on the one hand, like my primary worry is that the camera is not focusing on me. Apparently, I'm not interesting enough.
Come-
Well, screw you too then. Anyway, doesn't matter.
No, no, you're
Um,
fine on my end. You're
yeah, it just
absolutely
looks
fine on
like a
my
little
end.
bit blurry, but it's fine.
Continue. Yeah, you're
Not
fine.
important. But on the one hand, my primary starting point, like my base starting point, is that I'm not in favor of canceling or deplatforming people. Like that's my base assumption.
Okay.
I will, however, make exceptions when there is a significant danger that a certain person poses for society.
Okay.
If I can only spit it out.
Is
Um,
gone.
in that case, we still should. I have problems today. We we
She's not
still
trusted,
shouldn't
right?
be. This is not my native language, okay?
She's Dutch, everyone. She's Dutch.
Hallo, ik denk niet dat de Nederlanders luisteren, maar ik zie je.
Means hi.
Anyway,
Gone.
I don't smoke weed. Thank you. Um, anyway, where was I? I think we should still be very, very careful with it and not just at the first sign of danger, just like we should always err on the side of leaving people where they are. But I think there's an argument to be made that if someone is actually being a danger, being a risk, like influencing people to commit crimes or cause violence or whatever, in those cases, especially when they have a significant platform, like if someone just has 3 subscribers or whatever, who cares? But if you've got someone like Andrew Tate with a massive platform who is visibly influencing lots of people to have misogynistic attitudes and that kind of stuff, which can lead to violence against women, in those cases I'm like, we can consider whether or not deplatforming would be a good idea. I'm not saying that it automatically is. I'm just saying that is the range in which we can start thinking about whether it should be necessary or not.
Now, I think you touched. Is would it be run about the same point that you were making on the previous episode? Because I don't want to rehash all points. I like but would it
No,
be?
just watch the previous episode. What
Yeah,
are you
yeah.
doing? Come on,
That's what
it's on
that,
YouTube.
that's what I was. That's what I was basically trying to say. But I think you were referring. We were talking about. And I think you made a statement in regards to like saying, oh well, Hitler said some good stuff and bad stuff, and is that mainly the reference that you were referring to?
No, not necessarily. It's just that deplatforming someone or canceling someone is a giant measure. It's a
Yeah,
huge step because then you, as an institution, as a government, or as a social media platform, or an organization or a company or whatever, are directly telling you're entitling yourself to a lot of power
yeah,
when you're going to say you cannot speak anymore.
yeah. No, no.
And we should be very careful with using that power because we can very easily slip into totalitarian situations.
I
We don't want
complete.
that.
I agree with you, and I personally think even with someone like Tay, unless he was literally calling for like, let's say for example, terrorists to go and attack women, or unless he was doing something like that, I think everything he said should have been allowed because we, in my opinion, we have the freedom of choice. We can choose to take on his views or we don't. But Stevie,
Don't mind me. I'm still trying to
I didn't want
refocus
to.
my
I didn't want to butt in or
webcam.
anything, but
no, no,
yeah.
but in regards to the deep platform, because I am building up to a point with this. There is a point coming, trust me. It's a point.
I know.
We're not blurry anymore. I'm sorry.
Hey,
With Doctor.
so you wanted to know what I feel about it. Pretty much the same as Meryl, to be fair. I think, and this is something I always say to people, and they take it the wrong way. But like, so say a racist person, they're allowed to be racist. Now, hear me out. They're not allowed to be racist to other people. Obviously, they're not allowed to incite hate, and they're not allowed to do what they're doing. But you can't stop them being racist, right? That's them. They've got to figure that out. So we can't say to this person, you can't do this and that. We can say that to them, and hopefully they won't spread their hate. But you can't stop them in their own mind still being what they are.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
I agree. I mean, I think that ideally influence should stop like at yourself.
Yeah, but pretty much. I think a lot of it is down to the individual.
Like you can just lay the information there, and then it's up to them whether or not they do anything with it.
Like I don't think Donald Trump should have got cancelled the way he did. Like I know people say.
I also don't think he should have become president, but that's just me.
Exactly.
I don't think they're too equate, but sure.
No, they don't. They don't. No.
But yeah, at the end of the day, Trump. I still think it's crazy that you would have the current president being silenced by people in his own country like that is kind of.
It is kind of scary, but at the same time, we did see what happened at the Capitol.
Nah,
to be
but
fair though,
come on,
he didn't actually incite that. Like I know he said about the fix and the vote being fixed and stuff, but he never said go and attack.
Yeah, he actually has a tweet. He actually has a tweet.
At the same time, he also didn't. He also didn't speak out against it, and we could
did.
all see
he
it
literally
coming.
did. No. I will push back here. He actually did. There is literally a tweet. Like literally, he hasn't tweeted since he's been allowed back on the platform. There is literally a tweet that says, "Go and have a peaceful protest. Like, make sure it's peaceful." He was not inciting violence whatsoever. Like,
I think we can fill an entire other stream with this because
there's
an entire discussion to be had about direct responsibility or indirect responsibility. Like if you implicitly should have been able to know that something was going to be a problem, and subliminal messaging and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but you can say that about
that's a subject unto its own, and would kind of take away from.
Oh no, he's gone quiet again.
At least for.
Have I gone quiet again?
No, damn it.
Keep talking.
Man down.
Well, to keep going.
Man down.
Keep going while you sort it out, Caleb.
Yeah, we have enough to talk about, but I think
I know what you mean, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is a very interesting discussion to have with respect to actually inciting violence or not. But today, that's going to lead us a little bit astray from.
Yeah, we'll get way off base, but I agree though with everything you said.
Are
You
you,
know,
Yeah,
if
and I
you're
see in the chat,
inciting
by the way, I
violence
see
and
Hot
hate,
Boskin saying that wasn't Trump's fault. I don't want to say it was his fault, but that was the discussion I was going to have about, like,
but
if you
you're
if you see
saying,
that someone is gonna commit
can you guys
violence
hear me now?
and you don't say anything.
oh, can hear you, Caleb.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
can hear you now.
Yeah.
But if you can see that someone is going to commit violence and you don't say anything, while you could have, and with your power you would have been able to do something about it, are you complicit?
Yeah, but
That's the
that's not.
question.
Yeah, but that's. I
And we can
think
disagree on that, but I think that's better for another episode.
no. All I was gonna say is the same thing that you're saying that you're levying against Trump. It's the same thing you can say about Antifa. But the thing is, you're not gonna put the same weight on Antifa. You know, like because they also like the people that support Antifa, they were also saying yeah, go out and protest peacefully, but it was everything with Antifa is it's never peaceful. Like, but they were saying that. So, we gotta have some kind of to see that both sides are. If you want to make the argument, both sides are literally as rotten as each other.
Give
If you
and
want to make the
take,
argument,
right?
but
It's give and take.
yeah, but the main point in regards to platforming, because this is very interesting. Out of all of this, the only person that hasn't been deplatformed whatsoever is J.K. Rowling, and we know what she's done with her with the hypotheses. We know her history, etc. But she does still have a platform. Now, for someone like that, who is people are deeming as spreading hate towards trans individuals, by standing up for women. From what I'm seeing, by the way, I'm seeing that she's standing up for it. And they're calling her a turf. I actually don't know what these words actually mean. I don't know what turf means.
I do.
Please explain.
I'll explain in a minute. Continue.
Yeah, so she is still having a platform to talk about that, and I'm gonna contrast that with Kanye West. But let's talk about J.K. Rowling for a second. Is deplatforming the way to go for her, J.K. Rowling? I'm referring to. So
No,
I want to.
Of course not.
no,
Why?
I don't agree, because then you'll just make her a martyr.
But okay,
There's literally, I had some screenshots for this. I can't show them myself, but I have them. I have sources that show that actually the including J.K. Rowling, a lot of anti-trans people who sold books or whatever actually saw their sales rise after they said they were being cancelled and people were trying to silence them. So if you're gonna deplatform Rowling, it is just gonna increase her notoriety,
Yeah.
and it's just going to polarize the field even further and make people even more hostile to what she thought. It's just gonna raise all kinds of hell, and not the good kinds.
What's that phrase that I've said before? Controversy creates cash.
yeah.
It's
I,
true.
Yeah,
I will. I think Tasha. Hey Tasha, in the chat, she says I don't think it's good to speak political issue because that doesn't go. I mean, we're trying. The thing is, I agree with her because we were talking about Trump and Antifa, etc.
Yeah.
But
it depends
we are
on what
not
you call a
political
political
here.
issue, though.
It's not political. I actually feel that this is actually a society issue because you shouldn't. From what I'm seeing, from all the arguments that I'm seeing from the trans community and also from women that don't agree with certain things in regards to the trans community, it it shouldn't be in the realm of politics at all. It shouldn't be left versus right. It should be right. But what is the middle ground here? You understand what I'm trying to say? Like how can these two coexist? Because um has it gone too far? Like the things that we're saying. Am I making sense in the way I'm
Do
delivering
you
that?
do you do you mean that unfortunately, because of the way the world is now, literally everything can be put to a political side.
It shouldn't
People
be.
can put I know it shouldn't be like
Yeah.
that, but unfortunately, every single thing that people say, there'll be somebody that can twist it and say this is a political reason. They'll turn it into a political debate. Whereas
Yeah,
a lot of the
or
time,
sorry.
it's just a human debate. We're trying to just have a human debate, you know,
Yeah.
not about
Yeah,
politics.
but
But
I
people
think
make
that the society issues are inherently political because
that's the other problem. Yeah,
politics determine for at least some part what society does. I mean, if you have a left wing government or if you have a right wing government, that is gonna have an impact on different societal
yeah,
factors in your country. So when you're talking about trans rights, that is a societal issue, but it's the government that has the power to ratify certain
Yeah.
laws and influence that directly. So it is inherently already a political issue. It's just that we as a show here are not going to say we are a left-wing show and we're going to promote that, or we're a right-wing show, we're going to promote that. It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
Am I still
we
here?
don't have an agenda.
Oh, I can
We
hear
just
you.
have our own
Yeah,
opinions and we don't even agree with each other. So
yeah,
Yeah. No. No.
exactly.
No. Yeah. So I'm glad. I'm glad you put it like that because yeah, we cannot escape politics because end of the day, laws has to get passed to protect us do who would may or may not. I personally don't have any affiliations with any political party, but anyway, but some people do, and laws will have to get passed. But to go back to the conversation in regards to J.K. Rowling, I don't have the video with me, but I saw this woman gave a speech, and I think her name. Damn, I forgot her name. Oh my word! I'll put it in the description for the end of the show. But she was basically describing, and I wish I had this. I'm so upset by this. I'll try and find it. It's on my Twitter somewhere. Um, it's on my Twitter somewhere. I think. Meryl, look for that. But but
I the guy you gave me was a woman who gave a speech. I'm good at fact finding, but I have my limits.
but basically,
Woman who
Goodness.
gave a speech. Who could that be?
but
Can't think
basically,
of any.
huh?
I need more info.
No, no. I completely forgot her name, but I completely forgot her name. That's my fault.
It's not
But
important. We'll move on. I made a note that you should still put it in the description later. We'll be fine.
but yeah, she made a point in regards to what womanhood is and what basically being feminine is, and apparently the lines are blurred to a certain point. And basically, what she was basically saying was, womanhood comes um with the pregnancy period, all those things that women would naturally go through in their life, menopause, etc. Whereas femininity doesn't necessarily contain those things. However, you can still be or identify as a woman based on feminine traits, etc.
Those two seem to contradict each other. Because if you say woman being a woman means having periods and menopause and all that, then that is at odds with saying that you can identify as one. Because if you physically can't, I mean, I'm
I
just
think
going
that's
by
it.
what you said.
That was the point that she was basically trying to make. Like you
Well, then
can't
she's contradicting herself.
not.
Oh, he's gone again for a sec.
No, his mic is
No.
out. No.
I was just going to say though, I think the whole debate at times is quite contradictory. And
Yeah,
it's not intentional. It's a very because you've got mind versus science versus feeling and all that. There's never going to be a straight answer. There's always
and
going to
also
be
language.
yeah,
Language is a
language as well.
significant problem in these issues because I know that a lot of people are fed up with the seemingly unendless amounts of new words that are being
Oh, it's just there's a
made
new
up.
one every day.
But at the same time, I'm like, all words are made up. Who
That is
cares?
true. Yeah, I've
And
always had
words
that
change their
debate with
meaning as
people.
well because the word computer, everyone knows what we mean when we say computer, but the word computer originally meant a woman as part of a group of women
Really?
in an office who were doing scientific calculations,
I didn't know that.
kind of like living calculators. That was their job. They would just sit there and do calculations for scientists who had basically saving them the work.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, wait,
and
wait,
that
wait.
was a
Didn't actually know
computer
that.
because they were women who
We can
compute
hear you now.
things. Yeah, we can hear you again.
Wait,
But
wait.
then
She actually said that.
electrical computers were. Yeah, I
Oh.
said what I said.
No, no, no. I mean, no, not what. No, she actually said that. I meant to say, wait, that
I
was
thought they-
actually a thing. Like, computer actually
Kitty.
meant a woman.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So the computer, as in the electrical device, was named after women.
So we're talking to each other on groups of women.
Well, technically, because it was basically
I'm
intended
touching
to
groups
be
of
the.
women right now.
Mine is over here.
I treat my
Mine has a
women
red
right.
dragon tattooed on her front, and it's very sexy. It's an MSI.
That's great. I didn't actually know that. I didn't actually know that. That's fascinating.
I drink and I know things.
Okay.
I'm not
I mean,
saying they're
all-
alcoholic beverages, but
All I know is that the word gay used to mean happy and queer used
exactly.
to mean feeling ill or being a
Or
bit
queer also used to
different.
mean just weird.
Yeah, basically.
And
I think they
gay.
used
I mean,
it.
listen to the original West Side Story.
Is
Then
that,
she sings, "I feel pretty,
I'm
I
so
feel
gay.
pretty, I feel pretty and witty and gay." And
Yeah.
that became Bright later when the meaning of gay changed. That
That's
everyone
right.
was like, "But you're not gay,"
That's
because the
another
meaning
thing I
had changed in
don't
the
like,
meantime.
though.
Sorry,
That's
what'd you
another
say?
thing that I was going to say. That's another thing that I hate is I understand that language can change and stuff, but I don't think we should edit old stuff. Like it was true at the time, and that was right.
That is also another episode.
That's another debate. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
because
just
we
not
could
what
talk about
we
Roald Dahl and all that
well,
kind of stuff
oh
that's
god,
going on
yeah.
now.
Go on forever.
Exactly. No, but what
I
I
haven't even mentioned
what I wanted to
Hogwarts
say
Legacy yet.
about words, I'm sorry, what I wanted to say about words is
Sorry, go
that
on.
people are like automatically resistant to it, while when it comes down to it, it helps us communicate. Because if we didn't have a word to describe that electrical thing that's sitting on my desk,
Hmm.
then I would just be, yeah, like I'll be there in a second. My electrical device that's sitting on my desk is not working.
Yeah.
Like we need a word, and
Like
in that sense, I feel like it's fine if we have new words coming up now that we are discovering more about what humanity is like, and we're learning more about the mind. We're learning more through science, but also just through self-exploration and people talking with each other, because we have so much more exchange of ideas with the internet that we didn't have a century ago. So this is going much faster because we have more interactions with each other.
yeah.
Yeah. I think the age that we're living in now, we should really be at a position in which we should be able to talk civilly with one another. But it doesn't seem like that's actually.
Oh, Jermaine Gray? Is that her name?
Yeah, Janaine Gray. You guys see
Hmm. I know her.
the thing, yeah?
I
Yeah,
see it.
I saw the picture of her and I recognized her. She's a British
Yeah.
author, I think.
I
So
don't think it's on the live stream yet.
I've shared it. Wait, can you see it?
Oh,
No, I can see it in our own room, but I have the live stream up on the side here and it's not showing the
isn't the
video right
live
now.
stream
Oh, there
slightly
we go.
behind?
You've just added a browser source. And now it's a Twitter page.
Flipping
There we
heck.
go.
It's not. This is all new to me. This is all new to me.
Yeah.
But
Get the cookie thing.
what?
Oh,
Refresh it.
No, it says accept all cookies. Like there's a cookie notification.
yeah, it's because you're not logged in, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
flipping heck.
Cookies.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's because I'm not logged in. I will put that to one side. But can you guys see the
We're
screen?
working on it. This is our second
Jermaine
episode.
Gray,
Yeah, like
Australian?
can you guys hear it?
Mm-hmm.
I can hear it.
All right. So I'm going to. I don't know how to blow this up. Okay. Okay. Let me try again. Let me try again. Apologies for this because this is all new to me. But basically, what she's basically trying to basically explain is that the difference between culture and biology.
Put the link in the chat for people so they can.
It's because it's on Twitter. That's why it's hating me because it's
Yeah,
on
it's fine.
Twitter.
But if you put the
Oh,
link
yeah.
in the chat, then people can watch on their own time if they want.
Yeah. So all right.
Oh,
So
she was 84.
yeah. So I'm gonna play it.
That's good.
I'll put the link in the chat now. I'm going to play it. I'm going to play it for us, and then we'll talk about it. think it.
We have to remove our body hair and so on. We're going to spend our lives removing body hair. That's femininity, which is the fake version of femaleness. Female is real and it's sex, and femininity is unreal and it's gender. And it's a role you play. And for that to become the given identity of women is a profoundly disabling notion.
Don't you feel that you'd be able to spend more time on all of those questions if you just moved on from this trans question and said, okay, fine, if you want to join us as women, then you're women. Come and join us in the bigger struggles.
Well, they're not going to help us much with postpartum psychosis, are they? Or even with menstrual discomfort. Or, I think we can manage. You know, we are 51% of the population, and we're being held to ransom by a handful of people who are extremely vocal and aggressive. And that's no surprise to any of us. I mean, I don't understand why we have to make a mockery of older women. And that's universal. You say to me, I'm offending people. Every time you get vilified because you're an old woman, and
This
you
is
only have to
interesting.
be 50, not very old.
I'll pause it here.
That's an entirely different question.
I'll pause it here. I'll pause it here.
That was a non sequitur. We were talking about non sequiturs before.
Okay.
That was one.
I'll pause it here because obviously of fair
I have
use.
thoughts.
I think
I have thoughts, and they are many.
everything that she went into before. What did you think of that? Because personally, that's what I was basically trying to articulate earlier in saying the difference between sex and you know.
Yeah, I'm calm. I'm zen. All right. I'm not saying everything she says is hogwash because that's not true. There's lots of things she said in there that are absolutely true. Women have so many issues in life that men will just never know. Because even though we're 51% of the population, it's not like anybody's keeping score or whatever. It is still a fact that we, based on gender, we face disproportionately more problems. Let's just leave it at that. But I think she's making a few logical errors in her definition of womanhood, because what the guy said made a lot of sense to me. Like, just say, well, if you're identifying as women, come join us, let's fight together for all these issues that women are facing. And then she said, but they can't help with postpartum psychosis. And I'm like, what? Do I need to have experienced postpartum psychosis to be a woman? Or do I need to have experienced it to be able to help someone? Because I can help someone with that even if I don't know what it's like because I haven't experienced it. There are women who don't have a uterus. There are women who are born without one. There are women who have had a hysterectomy due to medical issues. There are women who don't get their period. There are women who are unable to get pregnant. Are all those people not women? Because I think they are. I don't have children. I don't want children. I'm still a woman. I don't need to have a uterus to feel a woman, because it's not like I'm opening myself up and like, oh, I have a uterus. Okay, that means I'm a woman. That's not how it works. However, I do agree with what she said in that gender is a role, and it's something that is not, it's not tangible. It's not something that we can measure per se. Like, we can look at our genes or we can look at our body characteristics or whatever. But she's making a lot of weird points about issues that not even all women face. So why does that have to define womanhood? Because you're also excluding a lot of biologically born women with that kind of argument.
No, I completely hear where you're coming from. I completely hear where you're coming from in terms of making the biological argument, but I
No. What are your thoughts?
I was going to say, I kind of agree with most of what she said, only because I
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know what it's like to have wet dreams or to have your first erection or anything. Probably it was apparently not that impressive.
You have so many when you're young, you forget them all.
You had
Seriously
many
though,
first erections? What the hell,
no,
man?
not first erection, but you have so
Jesus
many
Christ! Can we
erections
go
and
back
you
to the
forget like
topic,
when you're younger.
please?
Teen boys, trust me,
Wait, am
you
I
are
back? Am I back? Can you hear me?
constantly
Yeah.
erect. I'm not even joking now.
Can you
No,
hear me?
Oh,
you're not
I know.
constantly erect.
Can you
But
hear
I
me?
know.
when you're that age, everything is just hormones galore.
Sound is gone.
But yeah, I'm getting off track. Um,
Wait, why is this?
so yeah, I can't experience what a woman goes through. One can't experience what I've gone through growing up as a man. Growing up as a man has different challenges to growing up as a woman. That's not what
Certainly.
the debate is about. But yeah, um,
I just don't see why that has to be a measure for being a woman, because you also don't know what it's like growing up as a black man in Africa,
exactly. And I
who's
wouldn't
also a
tell.
man.
I wouldn't tell a black man in Africa what it's like to grow up having to deal with racism and stuff like that because I
Yeah.
don't know. But it seems a little bit, and I've spoken to other women who feel this way. It's a bit insulting because they've grown up as a woman, which is, as they described, a beautiful thing. They've had to go through, like you said, having their first period. These are the kind of things they're going to have to deal with when they get older as well, when they have to have like a smear test, and there's a possibility of getting
Can you hear me?
cervical cancer.
Mammograms,
Can you hear me now?
Exactly.
always fun.
Can you hear me
I've
now?
got a friend recently had a womb removed for medical reasons I won't go into.
Yeah.
It's something that a trans woman is never going to go through. And I know you can say, oh, well, there are women that still are born without, that can't have
Can you hear
kids.
me
It
now?
doesn't make them any less of a woman. But it's just a bit of a...
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I can hear you now,
Okay,
Caleb.
perfect.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of a... It's hard to say without sounding like a dickhead, really. But it's just it's just you can't experience that. A trans woman can never experience that, and
But
it
why
just
would
seems
they
a bit,
have to?
because that's a beautiful thing about being a woman. You know, they go through so much shit when they're younger that they have to deal with. And imagine I suddenly said, "Oh, I'm a woman," right? And I started getting all the benefits of being a woman, being treated a certain way, being protected, because
Yeah,
you
I'd
know.
be fine with that.
No,
I
know.
don't feel
Guys?
threatened.
Gu-
The
Yeah.
thing is, I hear you. What?
No. Finish your point. I'll just go back to the point I was
think
making with
that
template
people
before.
for some reason feel threatened, like including people in womanhood would somehow take away their resources, and I don't feel threatened. If a trans woman wants to join us in being a woman, I'm like, great, join us.
Okay.
Obviously we won't have had the
not
same
everybody-
experiences, but I'm not even expecting another woman of my age and ethnicity and everything to have the same experience.
Okay. I think what I was trying to say earlier before the mic issue, basically what she's basically talking about, from my understanding, is basically it is not necessarily that is contradicting what she's saying, because the template that she was using was sex. So of course,
Yeah,
is-
we've got that sorted in the meantime.
no. I was building up to a point, but
Okay.
I was
Go
saying, of course, when you're talking about sex, you are going to exclude certain members of, that can't fit into that. But the overall point is, the generality is, biologically, they cannot face the same issues that that women are facing. Now,
So
let me explain. The reason why in my opinion, it's hard for you to say so is because the people that do identify as trans are not necessarily, at least in the way, because the guy does make a great point. If you do have a trans as your ally, if you do have someone that's trying to fight with you, why should it matter, that they are, identifying like this and they're not a real quote unquote woman? But the what I'm bringing in basically is, I have seen tweets, I have seen trans people say things like I got my my period today, for example. A trans woman will say this. And then this would, like, first and foremost, we're talking, bear in mind, we are talking about helping women overcome the issues. How is a trans person saying I've got my period and going through this actually helping? And also, and I think Hob Hoboskins said in the background, trans women doing in sports. How is that
That
actually
is an entirely
helping?
separate.
No, but it's linked. It is a separate issue.
It is linked, but I'm saying it's separate in the sense that that is an issue that we do have to talk about and have to hammer out. But that issue on itself isn't a ground to say trans women cannot be women and just throw it all out. And that is what some anti-trans activists are kind of doing. Like, there is this part of society where being a trans woman and seeing them and treating them as women is going to pose a problem, like in sports, for example. So let's just throw the entire trans women concept out of the door, which is not the right response to that. I'm like, okay, fine. We need to talk about that. We need to talk about that because it is an issue that we need to find our way in and find out what's the best for the most people. I agree. But that is not an argument against just seeing trans women as women. Yeah, because you can make an exception for sports. Like in all cases, trans women are women, but for sports, we just have different rules. Because there are already rules against having too much testosterone now, without even trans being a thing.
I mean, yeah. I mean, how do I put this? What I was trying to, in terms of the sports, because this is the, in my opinion, this is the crux of their argument. Like, in terms of the women, this is why personally, when I hold this view, this is why I don't agree with people like Piers Morgan. I don't agree with people like I forgot his name, Matt Walsh, I think his name is, when they ask the question, "What is a woman?" and then it's like a gotcha, like it silences everyone. Which I'm like,
it also silenced. Also silenced
he
him.
says silence and then he goes. He jinxed himself.
No, but
Sorry,
but that Matt Walsh thing only silenced me because there were so many fallacies and non-following arguments in there.
Can you hear me now?
That I'm like, yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. Oh no, we can't. Sorry, Caleb. Are you talking about Matt Walsh's "What Is a Woman," that documentary? Because I did watch that, to be fair.
Yeah, I've seen parts of it, but there was so much in it where I was like, that is not an argument.
If you look at some of it, you could pinpoint certain points and go, well, that's just completely skewed in one direction. But then if you look at the whole thing, there are some really good points that are made.
There's a couple.
Can you hear me now?
They're framed within a yeah, I can hear you, but they're framed within a very hostile position.
I think we gotta look away from the austerity, because I personally think that's clickbait. But the point I was trying to make in regards to that, saying what is a woman, etc., I'm saying using that shuts down the whole conversation, because I think there is a real conversation to be had, and it's not what is a woman or not. It is what can be had to accommodate trans, like.
And he's gone again.
He's gone again.
Sorry. What is up with your microphone, man?
I have no idea.
I don't know what's.
Is it just a wonky cable or something?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So my cable is bad. I do apologize. But what I was saying was, without invalidating other people, and I'm gonna go back to, I remember gay rights, for example, right? When gay rights came in, and it's a bit normalized now. From what I've seen, it's a lot more accepted than when I think I was growing up around 2000 and the noughties. It was not as accepted as it is now.
You should have seen the 90s.
Oh, I don't even want. I was born in 91. So, but the point I'm making is, from what I've seen in terms of gays, and lesbian, people that You know what I'm trying to say. My tongue is
Non-heterosexual
tied.
people.
Yeah, not straight people. Not straight people.
There you go. Yeah.
From what I've seen, they were not approaching the subject trying to marginalize or not marginalize, that's the wrong word to use. They're not approaching the subject trying to invalidate or remove any gender from the equation. They were just like, look, we just like men, can we just live? Can we
You know what?
Well, that
This
is exactly what trans
brings
people are
up-
saying. Can
Okay.
we just live without having our existence erased at every corner?
That's fine. But
Yeah,
however, this is the crux of the other side's argument, because they're saying that. However, the problem actually comes when you see women that have literally, if you remember when there were sports, women were not literally allowed to take part. Like they tried to have mix when they were trying to like integrate them into sport, and they were like, nope, we prefer our own league, because there's no way we can survive, if it was to be mixed. Their own leagues was created. I wish I can give you the timeline for all these things, but unfortunately I can. But it's not necessarily the fact that they can't mix, because we understood the biological differences between men and women when it came to sports. We understood that. So
And I'm not ignoring or denying any of that, by the way.
I completely understand. But the point is, it seems like when we hit this impasse, which is today, where you're trying to identify as a woman, it's like it's like they're telling us to completely ignore that and just erase the progress that the women has made in terms of.
I don't agree. I don't agree that I don't agree that is what's
I agree with
happening.
Heinz.
No,
I
but
mean, I understand why people think that that's happening, and there are some trans activists that do go too far.
it's
But
not. No.
the majority
This
of
is not trans.
people.
This is
are-
not. This is not. Sorry. This is not. The point I was trying to make is this is not even activism. This is literally, there was a literal trans women, that are dominating UFC, which is a very dangerous sport. Like, I would love to see some of the trans women go up against Ronda Rousey, because I think that's when we're gonna have a real reality check. If a trans woman can beat Ronda Rousey, then because she is the best UFC fighter there is, like for
But listen,
the women's division.
we're going really far into trans women in sports, which
But
is
that's
is a different
Okay,
issue from
okay,
what we
but
started
let
out
me-
talking about,
I
because it's a
completely-
specific problem that has nothing to do with whether people should be able to go into bathrooms or whether people should even be called a woman, or what we're doing with women's rights, and of course also not about Rowling and
completely
Hogwarts-
understood.
Hogwarts
Completely
Legacy.
understood. I completely understand. I was only making okay. I will quickly bring it back. The point I was making was this is stepping on the toes. I can actually understand to
I see the issues in the sports question, and I said it in the chat already, but I currently do not have a solution for the sports issue.
okay.
But that is one item in society. Sports is not entire
No,
life.
of course. Going back, okay, fine, okay. I understand where you're coming from. Going back to the Hogwarts Legacy issue, because the Hogwarts Legacy issue, you are right, it is linked to the activism part, because it was protests that led to anyone that was streaming the game. For those that don't know, if you purchase Hogwarts Legacy at the time, I think this was back in 6th of February or whatever, like, around that time. If you purchase Hogwarts Legacy, you try to stream it and play it, because the property, well, the naming rights belong to J.K. Rowling. She didn't take part in the writing process. She didn't take part in anything apart from just
There's giant distortion on your mic.
Oh God. Hey, what is that?
Oh Jesus. No, it's just every word you're saying is like. it's
Oh my God.
oh, that's nasty.
Yeah, let me try and take over while he sorts it out. Okay, I think I know what he was gonna
The
say.
microphone is saying enough.
Yeah. I think he's trying to say that the whole Hogwarts Legacy debate, obviously because of the fact that Harry Potter is linked back to J.K. Rowling, is that why people were trying to cancel it?
You're
Oh, I
back.
think you're back, Caleb.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's
you're
better.
good. You're good.
Oh, thank God. Let's continue.
Get
Sorry.
a new set of headphones.
No, they're fine. I don't know what's wrong with the cable.
Okay, get a new cable.
Yeah, sorry, my bad, guys. My bad. Continue, Steve.
That's even better because cables are not that expensive.
Yeah, you can get some in Poundland, you know.
Yeah,
I'm not
but go-
joking, they're
go-
actually not bad.
Go ahead, Steve.
3.0. I need a 3.0 blue version. Sorry.
That's
continue.
fine.
This is
So yeah, I think what you were going to say is because of Hogwarts Legacy, because it's based on Harry Potter, because Harry Potter is the creation of J.K. Rowling, people were jumping on that game and trying to cancel it, and anybody involved with buying it or any kind of streaming it, they were almost like bullying people into not playing Hogwarts. They were. I know I've got friends that are like, I bought Hogwarts Legacy, but I've not told, like, I've not mentioned it or put it on my socials because they will have a bunch of people jumping on them. And I just came out and I just said, this is all bollocks. Like, I'm not having that. Like, you can believe what you want about J.K. Rowling. Personally, I've got no issue with J.K. Rowling.
There's no excuse for bullying in any capacity from any side for whatever reason, ever.
Exactly. Making people feel bad for playing a game like that is disgraceful. People go through a lot in life. They need escapes. And Harry Potter, for some people, is a great escape. It's a new world. And they're trying to get people to stop playing this game. And I played Hogwarts Legacy, and I absolutely loved the game. I thought it was fantastic. It gave me a good couple of weeks of entertainment. I'm hoping they do more with it, to be honest. And that has really helped my sort of mental health when I'm struggling, and that I'll just play that game and I'll chill, and it's great. And a lot of these people are trying to make people feel bad for needing or wanting that in their life. It can make them feel better. I don't see an issue with it. And I know they all go back to, but J.K. Rowling. Okay, ignore that.
Well, she does make money off of it in royalties.
But of course she's gonna. She created that world. She deserves that money. She earned it. She made that money. She created a world of her own. That is,
but on the other hand, she doesn't really need it. Like, she's already a billionaire.
What do you want to?
It's not like we need to support her to make sure that she can buy bread.
Actually,
it doesn't matter then either way, because
Stevie,
she's already a billionaire.
Stevie, Meryl.
Yeah.
What has her? I gotta ask this. She's already a millionaire. That's fact.
Sorry.
What are you trying to argue? Are you trying to argue the game shouldn't have been made, or are you trying to argue that J.K. Rowling shouldn't have received it?
That was specifically an argument against the thought of, well, she created it, so she deserves to be paid for it. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not like that is an argument that I would say makes more sense when someone hasn't already made millions of pounds with it already. Because if you're talking about someone who's relatively new to the game, and I don't mean the game, but just creating things, then I'm all for supporting creators of good things because they deserve to be able to live of what they do. But Rowling has already had that.
Yeah, but Rowling doesn't actually. Hold on a second. Rowling doesn't actually own Harry Potter. You know that she just gets royalties. Like, it actually belongs to somebody else.
I know.
That's
I know.
she can't actually control that because the actual...
I know, but it is a fact that if you buy the game, a part of your money is going to her, and it's an insignificant amount, and it's not going to radically change her bank account or anything. So I'm not saying that is a giant problem or whatever, but it is something that sends a message to trans people or trans allies or whatever, that it does send a message. And the question you need to ask yourself is solely, and I'm not saying what the answer should be, that's for everyone to decide. The question you should ask yourself is, how does it stack up against my need, my very legitimate need to relax, by the way, and to have an escape from daily life, which is entirely legitimate. I'm not going to say anything against it. But what I have been saying about the game for the past, I don't know, however long this has been a topic, I've been saying I completely understand if you want to play the game, and I even understand if you feel like you need to play the game, because I know what depression feels like. I know what it feels like to need something in that way. Pirate it. Get it illegal. Get it used. Get it secondhand. Get it whatever. If you can. If you can't, buy it. Go ahead, fine. I'm not going to stop you. But if you have the resources, if you have the means, if you have the technological know-how or whatever to pirate it or to get it used, I prefer if you chose that option.
Okay,
But if you didn't, go ahead, buy it, enjoy it, live your life.
I
I'm
do.
not going to stop anyone.
I do have this question for you, Meryl.
Go ahead.
Uh, 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 just so that I understand, if J.K. Rowling was to come out tomorrow and says all my proceeds are going to go to trans charities, will your opinion still be the same?
That is such an alien concept at this point. I mean, my first question would be, has your account been hacked? Why on earth she literally opened a shelter for abused women, literally explicitly excluding men, which is fine, and individuals who identify as trans women instead of just saying trans women, as if you cannot be a trans woman, you can only identify as a trans woman, which is weird already. But she literally opened a shelter to exclude trans women, while in the UK, or at least in Scotland,
Yeah.
all shelters are already including trans women, and there have literally been 0 issues. There are no issues on record of trans women in women's shelters being an issue in the place where Rowling deemed it necessary to create a cis women only shelter to protect women. If there's no cause to believe that trans women are something they need to be protected from.
I think
go on.
the issue comes down to the fact that there are people that abuse the system. So
There aren't. There
No,
are
there
literally
are,
no numbers for
there are
shelters.
there are men out there that will just go, I'm a woman now, to get out of something they've done or to get put in a better prison. There was a guy who
But do you agree with me that in the shelter question, there's no reason to believe that it's an issue if in over 15 or whatever how many years there have been 0 incidents with trans women in shelters? Just for shelters alone, prisons, different situation, whatever. Just for shelters alone, if there are 0 incidents, how can you, not you specifically, but how can one still maintain that there is a need for trans exclusionary shelters?
well, if there is already these shelters for women and trans women, then there shouldn't be an issue with there just being one for women that are not for biological women.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, do you think there is a need if there are no incidents on record of it being a problem in the first place? Because the whole thing about Rowling, from where I'm sitting, is that she's part of a narrative creating a boogeyman out of trans women. While the statistics don't even show that it's a problem.
Hold on.
No, but those women though, right? They shouldn't have to be put in a shelter with other people that have got a penis. You know what I mean? Because there are women that have got genuine fears about this.
What about lesbians?
Yeah, but
lesbians can rape other women.
This is exactly what the other individual was saying in forgot her name again, Jermaine, in regards to it being a sex identity versus a gender identity, because there's a massive difference. There's a massive difference here.
Yeah, there is a big difference.
Yeah, because I think I forgot, I sent you the video, but I forgot the name of the creator. I'm so bad at this, but he basically made the point saying that when a gay man likes a man, is because that's who they're attracted to. They're attracted to men. They're not going to date a trans man, so to speak. because they are not. They're just not gonna find them attractive. It's not transphobic for him to say that. It's literally, I'm gay, and I just find that attractive.
And you're gone again.
No, he's cut off. God damn it.
But if you're attracted or not to trans people is again not related to the shelter issue and safety.
What
That's
I
what-
think it is.
And
the
your
issue-
mic is still gone.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
I think
Am
the
I
issue
back
is
now?
these women need to have a safe
Am I back now?
space as well.
My bad.
But the statistics show that they are safe.
That we know of. Unfortunately, there's a lot that goes on that you're not supposed to speak about and talk about. That shit does go on. You got to remember, if somebody speaks up and says this thing happened, no, you can't say that. You're transphobic. You're spreading hate. And it's like there are people that have had genuine experiences that they've created like a fear for people. Women are a fear. They're scared to come out and say things because they'll get jumped on. Because I know women myself who they can't say these things publicly, but they confide in me, and they say like, I'm not happy or comfortable with certain things, and it's not that they're transphobic. They've got trans friends, but they themselves as women want their own safe space, and it's got nothing to do with the fact that they're trans women in the sense of they've got a penis, like they identify as that. It's because they want to have their own space away from a man or someone who is biologically a man, regardless of what they identify as. Just because they've grown up with a lot of shit on their end, they've had to deal with harassment. And some women just generally are very scared of men due to their upbringing. That can happen. For a long time when I was younger, I wouldn't say I was scared of men. Oh yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, you're kind of crackling back here. Fine.
I wouldn't say I was scared of men, but I had a indifference towards them because of my upbringing.
Well, I'm to some degree also still scared of men because I was sexually. Well, I've
don't traumatize me. But okay. This is why I use the.
But may I respond to what he said first, please? Because I get that part of the argument. And I wouldn't tell women that they're not allowed to have that kind of safe space. I'm not necessarily against that shelter being trans exclusionary per se, because I get those reasons. I wouldn't tell anyone what to be comfortable and not comfortable with, because you just are or you aren't. That's not something you can just magically decide.
Yeah.
I get that. However, those kinds of issues kind of function as a vessel for larger, more hateful rhetoric about all trans women kind of having this inherent predatory nature.
Hold on a second. I got to say this here. You literally said not long ago that there are charities that literally exclude men from seeking help if they're abused, etc., because it's exclusively for women. This is okay. How comes we don't see the actual ramifications of this, where men do not actually have places to go and seek help, let alone have their own shelters? But when it comes to trans, it's a larger problem down the line. Bearing in mind, there are trans exclusive only shelters just for them. Why is it a problem that when it comes to the women's shelters and they exclude them, this is a big issue?
Well, it's because of the rhetoric surrounding it. Because as I said, that particular argument that Steve just laid out, I don't have a big issue with it. And it's not like I'm against the existence of a trans exclusionary shelter, as long as there are also sufficient shelters that don't. Like, as long as there are just sufficient shelters for everyone, regardless of who they are. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like I, for whatever reason, want to forbid that from existing, because that makes no sense. But the rhetoric around it continually, and this is just one example of it, paints trans women as inherently predatory. Because how often do you hear the same complaints about trans men being put in with men?
No, you see,
Why
no,
is
there
it
isn't.
only
I've actually got something to say about that.
Go.
if
I
you
mean,
can-
before actually, yeah. Go ahead. I actually want to hear
Okay.
this.
because this is an interesting one. For some reason, trans men don't seem to get noticed or even mentioned. Like it's like they don't exist, but they do. One of my best friends, I don't speak to them anymore, but the reason I fell out has got nothing to do with the fact that they're trans. I actually think they're a nice person. It's just circumstances.
yeah, different.
Yeah. I still
Humans
think
are more
they're-
complex than that. It's fine.
Exactly. I still think they're a lovely person, but this person, I won't mention names, when they had a psychotic break, they were put in an all men's psychiatric ward.
Mhm.
Whilst they were there, they were raped. Right?
Mhm.
Because they still have a vagina and they're in there with other people that are mentally unstable. And they saw that person was clearly, even though they identified as a man and was put in the same place as the other men, they were assaulted. And it was terrible. And I just
that should never have happened, regardless of.
Oh no, it shouldn't have. I mean, any kind of rape, obviously, disgusting.
Yeah.
But the fact was, they wanted to be perceived as a man, which I'm okay with. I always called him by his name, never mentioned his dead name. Even once I remember saying, I said, "Oh, what is your dead name?" And I said, "Oh no, sorry, I shouldn't ask that." And they were like, "No, it's fine." They were actually okay. I could speak to them, and they're one of the reasons that I do think there are some really lovely trans people out there, because I've had good conversations with them. They've spoke to me. We've actually joked around about stuff, and they're lovely people. But then you got the other side of it, where they absolutely crucify and jump on you for asking genuine questions. And that just makes you go, whoa, what the fuck? I wasn't trying to be a dick. I'm just trying to understand the situation. But yeah, trans
Do
men.
you understand that people have gotten a bit sensitive after? I'm not condoning their behavior, by the way. I'm not condoning jumping down people's throats. I'm not saying that's okay, but they've also just had a lot of harassment and hate themselves.
Yeah.
And that's also something that I'm figuring, because we're constantly talking about the safety of cis women in these kinds of spaces, but I feel like we don't talk enough, and that's why it's good that you brought this story up. We don't talk enough about the safety of trans individuals, because as the statistics thus far show, trans people are at a higher risk of being assaulted than cis people, and especially like physical assault, like violence against them. And I feel like in many of the debates, we are like, yeah, but what about cis women? What about cis women? What about cis women? And we should always keep in mind, like, we need to protect cis women. Yes, we also need to protect trans women. Yes. Who is most at risk? And when it comes to, like, for example, that bathroom debate, trans people face so much more assault in bathrooms that don't conform to their gender, like they're transgender, than women do from men abusing a trans women identity to get into a bathroom.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Okay, but
so it is to mitigate harm. It would actually be better to allow trans women to use the women's bathroom, because statistics show that is a far larger problem. And beyond that, I think what we need to remember is that the perceived risk for bathrooms and that kind of stuff is not actually trans women. It is cis men abusing the transgender identity to cause harm. So they are not trans women. They are just cis men who are acting like they are trans women.
I got to ask this here. This is where I'm really gonna step in now. Because why is it that you can make that parallel? You can make this observation, and that's fine. You know, you can make this observation and say they are not cis women, or they're not trans women. They are posing to be trans women, and that is not inherently transphobic.
Because their intention?
That is transphobic, though. That is actually, yeah, but yeah, but
Well, wait,
yeah, but they decided
I'm
to
I'm
try.
not saying that I can tell which of them are which.
But that's the
That's not what I'm
point.
saying.
But that's the point. The same argument. You're not saying. I think this goes back to the last episode. You're not saying that that you remember the Andrew Tate thing um in regards to the ownership issue. You know what I mean? In regards to the ownership issue, like where
Oh yeah,
yeah, yeah. Remember where
yeah.
we said that you're not saying that the woman is literally his property, etc. But the fact that it died, it's got the word property in there is the problem. It is this. It's kind of the same thing here. You're not saying, they're not really women. They're posing as women. But that is the issue. The other
No,
side.
because I'm not saying that about actual trans women.
Yeah, but no, but
That is
that's
the
the
issue.
issue. Wait. This is the point. This is the
I
point.
think I know what he means.
This is the point. Who gets to decide who an actual trans woman or trans man actually is? Because bear in mind,
That is a legitimate question. I'm not going to deny that.
No,
but
no.
regardless of who gets to decide or how we decide, if we just look at the facts, there are people who just experience themselves as a woman, have
But you-
always done so, have
Hold-
gender dysphoria, want to transition. Those would be actual trans women.
Yeah,
If there's a man who is like, I want to rape people, and he decides to act like he's a woman and go into a female bathroom and rape someone, then that is not a trans woman.
Hold on a second. You are basically validating every talking point of Matt Walsh. You are validating every talking point of Ben Shapiro. You're actually validating every one of their point, because their point
How?
is you are saying
The
is down.
system's easy
you-
to abuse.
They are saying that they're suffering from a mental disorder, and it's called gender dysphoria. They're called transphobic for this. You're saying the exact same thing, but for some
No,
reason.
I'm not. I understand why you're confused, but
Okay.
that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, rephrase
No,
that,
but
because
I understand your
I do
confusion, but
actually want to
continue.
understand where you're coming from here. I really do understand where you're coming from.
Okay.
Rephrase.
Okay. Like, regardless of the fact that we cannot look into someone's brain, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we are able to distinguish or able to tell which is which or whatever. But if there is someone who decides to pretend that they are a woman while they don't feel as a woman and don't want to go through life as a woman and don't actually want to physically transition and just don't feel female, but they decide to abuse that system
You're
cause harm.
losing me again. You're losing me again.
Okay, where are you lost?
Okay, I am lost at the point of, you know what? I will caution myself here. I'll caution myself here. Maybe I'm not understanding when you actually become a trans woman, or
Okay.
maybe I'm not understanding that part. Do you become a
that's
trans
fine.
woman? Hold on. Do you become a trans woman or a trans man when you say I identify as a man or a woman, or do you become a trans woman or a man when you have gender dysphoria, and then that can be proven?
Gender dysphoria is not necessary to be trans.
Okay, so that's out. That's out now. Okay, do you
Yeah,
become?
it is
Hold on.
common. It's common, but it's not required.
That's fine. That's fine. That's out of the window now. Do you now, going back to the first question? We know is now the parameters are between when you say you are a man or a woman, and when you transition, like actually make the steps to
Mhm.
become a man or woman. At which point do you
I
actually
can
become a trans
explain
man
that.
or woman?
Okay, I can explain that, because this is where what I was talking about earlier, like way earlier, when I said that language is an issue in these things, because we simply do not have enough words right now to distinguish, to make enough distinction. Again, not my first language. But for example, when we say sex, that can mean, things that you do in the bed. Oh, my bedroom is over there, actually. Things you do in the bedroom, or you can mean your physical sex,
Yeah.
But that is one word that is already confusing, and that's just an example of how we don't have enough words, because it would be easier to communicate if we have a different word for that and a different word for this. And in Dutch we do, because this we call sekse
Yeah.
or geslacht, and that we call sex. So we have different words for that, so we don't get confused. But in English you can get confused, and the issue with a lot of vocabulary around trans right now is that we use a lot of words that already had meanings and can therefore easily get confused. And also there are words that were coined when we were missing a lot of other vocabulary, so they just kind of got the wires crossed. So I'll break it down real as simple as I can with the knowledge I have. Obviously I'm not trans,
Yeah.
but I spend a lot of time listening to trans people talking about
I
this, and
do I
I'm
do
just
really want to
relaying.
understand this because it will build up to my point later on. So
Yeah,
please
but
please break
that
it down.
that also tells me a lot about. I mean, it makes it clearer for me where your confusion lies, because in at the core there are two different things. You have your physical sex and your psychological gender. A psychological gender is also how we interact with the world. Like, that is what's happening in here. Because when I go through life as a woman, it's not because I'm routinely checking whether I have a vagina or not. It's because I feel a woman, I identify as a woman, I have traits that are more commonly seen in women than in men, but not exclusively, of course, because as far as gender is concerned, it's more of a spectrum, because you have butch women and effeminate men, so it kind of wavers. But there's a cloud on one end that I'd call female, and a cloud on one end that I'd call male, and I'm firmly within the female cloud. um is it clear thus far? I'm just going to check in between.
Keep going, keep going. I
Okay.
yeah.
But then there is your physical sex. And your physical sex is, of course, determined by, your chromosomes. Do you have XY, XX, that kind of stuff? But even that is not entirely binary, because you also have intersex people. And a good friend of mine is actually intersex. You have Klinefelter syndrome, which means that you have XXY, like you have an extra chromosome. But that means that you are not XX and not XY. So you're also, when you're just looking at chromosomes, you're neither,
Okay.
really.
Okay.
Yeah. Continue.
Before I lose again,
Yeah.
are we speaking as if the intersex and these people that are going through these disorders, are we speaking as if they're the majority or the minority?
No, intersex is definitely like a tiny part.
Okay.
Like for at least more than 95% or something, at least more than 90, but I think 95, maybe even 98% are just XX or XY.
Okay. Now.
But that's
The
not the
rest
entire
is
story yet.
actually a genetic defect, though.
Yeah.
Intersex people are technically not that.
Yeah, technically yes, but that is also like, defect is in the eye of the beholder. I mean, do you want to call it a defect, which I understand, I'm not going to argue against it, or it's a variation that's super rare?
Yeah, but the point, the reason why I asked that question is because if people like those have gender dysphoria, I can actually understand, because they are literally born with a different. I can actually understand that, but it's when you're bringing it over to the populace.
I'll leave intersex out for this moment, because it's not entirely important to the question.
Okay,
it's just
so,
that when anti-trans
that's
people
why
say there are only two sexes, they're technically not entirely
okay,
correct.
that's why I had to find out. You know what I mean?
Have you got that cleared up now?
All right,
before
intersex
I
out the
confuse
window.
people?
Continue.
Okay.
Because we still need to establish this line.
It's important to realize that they exist. It's just not entirely relevant for the point I'm going to make here. And I talked about this kind of topic with that friend as well, by the way. And this is also like, I'm also relaying like what her experience have been that she told me. But anyway, also she was born intersex, and her parents just decided, well, make it a girl, So
Yes.
yeah, it's kind of rough, but that's also an entirely different topic. But you just have your chromosomes, but that still doesn't entirely. That's not the end all be all of whether you're physically a a man or a woman. It's just the basis that in far and away most cases will lead to, in the case of XX, a body that looks somehow like this, or a body that in the case of XY somehow looks like yours, you know. But but then there's still loads of differences. Like, it's not like all women grow breasts the same size. You have like men who have other differences and that kind of stuff, but
I'm not
it
talking
is
about
it
the
is a
difference.
package of,
But
it's a
all
package
of
of different things. It's not like you can say there's one definitive thing or two definitive things or any number of definitive things that is like, this is a biological man. It's just that
Yep,
statistically these things do occur when you're biologically a man.
I understand, but your point, if I, it keeps translating in my head as if you're trying to make sex into a spectrum, which is really isn't. Like, you highlighting all of this
No,
stuff.
it's I wouldn't say that, and that's why I said that gender specifically is more of a spectrum, because
Yeah,
sex is more like, it's more like a not entirely binary. Like, it's
yeah,
almost
but
binary with like this little space in between.
that's my point. That little space doesn't apply to the entire human race. So I'm trying. This
No, but it
is.
doesn't need to. It needs to be included. Like, the entire human race is this. It's not this.
I understand. I understand. But
I'm not saying that it's the entire human race. So I don't see why this is an argument.
no, you're not saying it, but the numbers are. That's what I'm trying to. That's why we move from the intersex, because the numbers are not even worth.
No, it's not
It's,
because the numbers are irrelevant. It's because for the point I'm going to make, it's irrelevant.
okay, now, right.
It's fine.
In
We're
terms
getting
of
through this. We're
identity,
doing good.
I'm trying to find the point of. I'll just get to the point.
Yes.
You know Jeffrey Marsh. Have you heard of Jeffrey Marsh?
Yeah, but if I can just move on from the intersex question and whatever, because the point of the point not of intersex, the point of being transgender is the moment when your physical sex does not align with your psychological gender. And there is scientific evidence that proves that because your body develops in the first half of pregnancy, your brain develops in the second half of pregnancy, usually, in far and away most cases, that follows the same line. So you develop a male body, and then when your brain develops, you develop with a male gender, and then you're just a man, you know, when you grow up, and you're just comfortable with being a cis man in that case. But there has been evidence that in some cases, things happen during a pregnancy that make between those two phases in pregnancy, some changes occur that mean that instead of going in the same line, they're going in different directions. And that's when you can be born with everything that mentally makes a woman a woman, but with the body of a man, for example. And if you grow up and you feel a woman while you're in a man's body, and you feel like, you know, this is not what fits with me, that is where society comes in. Then you're transgender if you choose, if you're aware of it, you know. I mean, you always had the different gender, but it's like, I mean, I found out that I was bisexual when I was past my
Completely.
20s, but I have always been
Yes.
bisexual.
Listen, I actually understand your argument, because I actually think it's not just, it's a very logical argument to make, in terms of it becomes more of an awareness argument, that,
Yeah.
because the same thing, it can apply to gays as well, it can apply to lesbian, like, because at some point you don't really know exactly, like, I'm gonna use Io to the
Yeah, you
right,
start
but
noticing that there's something different.
yeah, you know what I mean. So I actually do understand that point. The point I want to really get at is, where does the transition begin?
Transition begins when you start the transition process.
No, 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 no. We
What do you
we are
mean?
off the horse again.
Do you is the
We're off
question you
the
want to ask, can you still be transgender if you don't transition? Is that your question?
no.
Okay.
When do you become a transgender? That's my question. When?
That's
a
but
good
that's like
question.
asking, when do you become a homosexual?
I think
you
what he
are.
means is, when is it that you're suddenly not? So say I'm a man. If I transitioned, I started taking hormone replacement therapy.
Mhm.
I did all that. Did the transition start when I did that, or would the transition start when I started wearing makeup and dressing like a woman?
Why? I just to be able to answer your question right. Why is that point in time important? What do you want to do with that
It's extremely
information?
important because we are talking about fake and real trans. I was trying to bring in Jeffrey Marsh to kind of make the point because Jeffrey Marsh right now, there's been do
Yeah,
you know about him?
we'll move on to him
In a
in a
sec, okay.
second, but because we hadn't entirely
Establish the
because I don't think that we are able or should be able to pinpoint a definitive point like now you're transitioning, because you can also be transgender without wanting to transition, because
that's
not everyone with gender not everyone
that,
gets gender
that is
dysphoria.
still not my point. My point is, when are you transgender? It's not when you transition. When are you actually transgender? Because you made this statement that if I was to make ever on Twitter, I'll be annihilated. Like I'll literally be destroyed.
When
You
your
made this.
gender doesn't align with the body that you're in, because the
That's the
body is generally called, oh, this is like, if people look at this, they're gonna assume like this is a female body.
understood. I
But
com
if I feel like a man, then
Yeah.
that would make me transgender,
Okay.
regardless of whether I've transitioned or not. But you already said that.
Yeah.
Does that mean though that
Yeah.
I could just suddenly tomorrow wear a wig, wear makeup, and then suddenly I can use women's toilets? That's the worry.
That's
That's the
I'm-
worry that
I
I'm
mean,
thinking, man.
everything.
did you ever see anyone checking at toilets though?
There's literally
Like, did anyone
videos
ever
going
check if you go
on.
into a men's toilet to check whether you're actually a man?
No one checks for these things. But the point is, when someone who is not women feel this a lot. They're a lot more heightened to this than men. I feel, because when
Yeah.
someone is not of your gender, when you would immediately feel like, wait a second, this is my this goes back to what Steve was saying earlier. This is our space. What are you doing here? Like, because
I
in
think
the
then you mean sex, not gender.
Do you
Because if
remember?
they're
Okay,
not of my gender,
see
then they wouldn't be
see
transgender.
I see, this is where I go back to the entire point in regards to you saying the wording is really effed up. The
Yeah, the
reason,
wording
yeah,
is just
I completely agree with you. Do you want to know
Yeah.
why? Back in the 80s and 90s, we used to have transsexuals, then we have
yeah.
then we have transvestites.
Transvestites was
Yeah,
also a
there was
thing.
actually a
Like
more
I don't know
defined.
I don't know how to describe Klinger in MASH.
Yeah, but
I mean,
that's
he
the
was
point.
described as a transvestite, but
Yeah, but
I don't know
transvestite
if that still stands.
transvestite is someone who dresses like the opposite sex.
Yeah, it's
So
basically a drag queen.
yeah, so that's a transvestite. A
Pretty much like
transsexual,
a cross
Well,
dresser now.
vesta
yeah,
means your clothing in Latin, by the
yeah,
way.
well, yeah, but transsexual is somebody who is actually living as the opposite sex. So they
I
will
think
go.
most people indeed define it as transsexual as being someone who has transitioned.
Yeah, but this is the point. This is the point I'm trying to make. When it comes to identification, that's transgender. And I guess it's leading to my other point is you have people that go as non-binary, and that just completely throws everything out of the water. But I'm not going to focus on that because
It doesn't though, and
okay,
I'll explain to you why. Because there's another component about this that mixes all of these together and kind of solves the puzzle. Because I completely understand that if you only have the information that I gave just now, I'm not saying you don't have any other information, but if someone would have only that information, it would still be weird. Because then
by
the
the
question
way,
would be like, why would you want to transition, or why would you not want to transition, or whatever? Because the other component that links all these together is society's perception of you, and gender. Gender actually needs to be split into two words as well, because you have gender as in your psychological experience of whether you feel as a man or as a woman, and then there's gender as a social construct.
yeah, but
Because
I
what
got
we
to
describe as female, for example, what we describe as female is being nurturing and caring for children, but there are also cultures where that is more of a man's task.
okay, uh,
So it is not inherently only biologically determined. That has a strong cultural component. So when someone wants to transition, it's because they want to be treated by others as the gender they are, but because you can't see gender, you can only see sex. They transition so that when you meet someone on the street, they're like, that looks like a woman. And they're like, that's right, I am.
Yeah.
Instead of constantly having that confusion.
Okay. What I'm trying to
Does
say
it make
is,
it like a little bit more clear?
Oh,
Oh, your mic's gone.
Your mic's gone. My only
I also need to go for a bathroom break, by the way, but I can mute it and hear you, so by all means keep talking.
Okay. What I was gonna say, seeing as it's just me at the moment, the problem with that debate is a lot of it, and they'll say that this
hear
is
me
all
now?
down to. Oh, I can hear you now. Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
They'll say it's psychological gender versus physical gender. Well, technically, doesn't that mean that it is a mental health issue then? And it's all in the mind. I'm not saying that doesn't negate the feeling that they have.
Yeah.
But pandering to it isn't always the right thing to do. I'm going to liken it to I was diagnosed bipolar when I was about 25. Before that, I didn't know what was wrong with me, but there was something wrong with me. And I was me, I was who I was, but I was having extreme mood swings in one way or the other. And it wasn't until I got properly diagnosed that I was able to get the medication that then helped me to balance out. And my life has been so much better since then.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel better because I got the mental illness was treated. So not with all trans people, obviously, but wouldn't it be better to treat the illness with
But
some
that
people?
is not, I understand your reasoning, but that has been shown to just not
I'll
work.
take a quick bathroom break.
Well, I know that a lot of people have mentioned the fact that that there's a lot of trans people that have committed suicide and things like that. And I'm not negating that either. That's a genuine worry.
There's no treatment because your gender is what it is.
But you can also be your mind.
Do you think I can make you
send the wrong
feel a woman?
signals. I mean, there is also subliminal messaging, and there is things that people can sort of put into young kids' minds because kids are very impressionable, and that's why I was mentioning Jeffrey Marsh. People like that worry me because
Yeah, he worries me a lot too. But that is because of groomer issues, not necessarily because of trans issues.
You shouldn't be telling. I don't care who you are. You should not be telling people. You should not be telling kids to talk to you and not your parents.
Yeah, that is
when we were younger.
Different kinds of effed up.
Yeah. Well, when we were younger, we were told
not to talk to strange men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
basically. And
exactly.
If someone told you not to tell your parents about something, that was a red flag. Yeah.
But definitely I get that. But then on the other hand, like you as I mean, I am bisexual.
I'm bisexual. I don't really talk about it, but yeah.
Look, listen.
I didn't want to out you in front of everyone, but you've heard of the horrors of conversion therapy.
Oh God, yeah.
Right? And you know that it doesn't work.
Of course it doesn't.
You cannot cure homosexuality.
No, because
and it's the exact same thing with gender. It is what it is.
No, but this is the thing. There are people that have. Okay, I'm gonna try and be as respect. I hope I have been respectful.
You want to talk about detransitioners?
Yeah, but it's not. It's not
a legitimate point to be making.
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, it was detransitioners day last week.
It's a legitimate point to be making, but at the same time, there are people who go through a phase thinking they're gay, and then they find out, oh no, I'm actually.
That's what I was
straight.
literally about to say. So I'm glad you said that. But what I'm trying to say is, finding out you're not gay is not gonna have life-changing consequences. It's just like, oh, I'm not gay. You probably lost friends who thought he's gay. I'm not gonna associate with him. This and that. That's probably your biggest loss, or your family for when you come out. That's a big traumatic,
Yeah,
That
but
was an issue in
there's
the
no physical
90s, so
component, is what you're
not so
saying.
much now.
Yeah, but exactly. But you are
Yeah,
physically intact. You can actually still rebuild your life. The people
I
that are
get that.
going through transitions, it's a bit, it's a bit
But
worrying
it's the same as
because
tattoos.
I
You can have
no,
tattoos removed. That's not the
no,
same.
it is
No, but
absolutely not the
what I mean is a
same.
With
tattoo is also a
transitioning,
choice that you can later regret, and it's there.
not like that. It's not irreversibly damaging your body though.
Yeah,
Something
they
But why
like
is it considered damage
yeah, but because
instead of
it's
just a
going into your
change?
genetic code, like
You're
There's
the
nothing going
hormone
on with your
blockers,
genetic
all these
code. You cannot
things.
alter someone's genetic code.
Okay,
you're
wrong
denying
That
word
is,
to
that is
choose.
impossible.
Wrong word to choose. I am so sorry, Meryl fact checker.
That's
Wrong word to choose.
fine.
That's
It's
not the
okay.
that
We're all
that's
here
not
to
the point I
learn.
was trying to make. The point
I'm
I was
not angry. I'm
the-
just disappointed. No, I'm kidding. It's fine, honestly.
I can't get over the letters in the back of your screen now.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's a bit.
hey, I
I'm
gotta
sorry.
shout out.
Bob
There is
mentioned it
someone.
earlier.
Her name is flipping. She was in a chat earlier. I think she might be gone now. But her name is Magic Bella or some. I think she's here. One second. I gotta shout out. She gave me this. She gave me this this background, but it's magically malicious. Um, that's her name. It's too funny earlier's name.
Brilliant.
But the point I was trying to make is it's not necessarily flipping neck.
But it's their body.
I
So why do you
understand.
care
I
if they
understand.
damage their body?
I
But I
understand.
think
But
it's the
the
worry
point,
of when they're younger, though,
yes,
isn't
is
it?
going over to children. Like,
Because we're
Okay,
very,
okay.
you're
But I can
very
take that worry.
impressionable
I can take
as
that
a
worry
kid.
away really easily because transition surgery should not be done on children. Point blank.
they will call you transphobic
No
for this.
discussion.
They will call you
But
transphobic for this.
no, because trans people say this.
Okay,
Transitions should not be done on children. What you should
that's
do is give
fine.
them
I am.
puberty blockers because they are entirely reversible.
That's fine.
No,
Every
no,
time,
no.
okay,
Puberty blockers,
let me caveat
that's
everything
completely
that I'm
different.
saying from now. Let me put out this disclaimer. When I say they, I'm talking about activists. I'm not talking about actual trans people. I'm talking
I
about
got this
activists.
from trans activists who
Yeah,
debunk the entire children are being like drawn into it
I
and
think they're being
convinced to
socially
transition.
influenced.
It's not
yeah.
happening. It's
And
not a
that's what
thing.
J.K. Rowling was worried about. She was talking about the social pressure and
L-
influence put on kids today.
you do understand that
I
they
do
have
see
to.
it.
You do understand that this same trans activists that you are saying that they're saying no, this is not happening, are the same
Well,
trans
obviously, I'm
activists.
not speaking for all trans activists.
That's
That would
fine.
be
That's fine. Well, I kind of am because the point I'm trying to make is when they get the laws passed that prohibits transitioning under the age of 18, there's a flare up. Transphobia, this and that.
Mm.
Why is that an issue? I actually think that's a very fair thing to do. That's actually
I agree, and I mean one of the trans creators that I spoke to you about is one of the people saying that transition surgery should not be done on children because
yeah, but
that
that's an
is
actual.
it's just it would just be insane because puberty is by far one of the most experimental times in your childhood. That's when you're still figuring out who you are. That is not the time to be making irreversible choices.
Yeah, I
What
agree
Which is
with
why
puberty
you.
I don't
blockers
think
do
I
is
completely agree
just
with you.
delay the process of going
no,
through
they
puberty.
no, they don't.
No,
They
That's not how
do.
puberty blockers work. Trust me.
no.
If as a man, if I went through on puberty blockers when I was younger, I wouldn't be what I am right now. I would have developed completely differently because of the.
I mean, if you'd had a different diet, you would have developed differently. If you've
That's
lived in a
not the
different
same.
country, you
You
would have
can
developed
change,
differently.
but those are natural things. Taking puberty blockers is not natural.
Taking the medicines that you take for bipolar is also not natural.
Exactly, because I've got a mental health illness that needs to be treated.
I can't believe that this is actually Meryl. Come on, you're smarter than that.
No,
I'm
because
joking,
he
I'm
said
joking.
this is not okay because it's not natural. Now he's saying, yeah, but it's okay, even though it's not
I'm an
natural.
adult. I'm an adult. I consented to take these medications when I was older.
Yeah.
And I also couldn't look after myself at times. And I needed somebody to basically not look after me literally, but I've been at risk at many times and family have been worried about me and they've had to, but I'm an adult And even still, I've needed help, you know. So a kid cannot make those decisions.
A kid is not making those decisions. That's why puberty blockers
An adult shouldn't
exist.
be making that decision for a kid, though.
The idea behind puberty blockers, even though of course it's different when you go through your puberty in your 20s than if you do it in your teens.
You don't know, it doesn't work.
I'm not saying that it's going to be exactly the same, because that would just be ludicrous. But what it can do is just give them more time to figure it out so that they don't make surgical changes.
Nah, they're completely.
And their body also doesn't. If you're a man and you go through puberty, like you get chest hair, you get a deeper voice, you get broader shoulders, you get all that kind of stuff. And if a young boy is still doubting, maybe if maybe they feel like a girl or whatever, they shouldn't be making surgical decisions. But if your body changes towards an adult male, that is so much harder to if they are an adult and they are like, yeah, I am a woman and I want to transition, then they will just have things in their about their body that are developed male because of puberty that they cannot change.
But then now that brings up the argument of what exactly is what is man and woman? Is it masculine, feminine? What are we talking about here?
But
you know,
I don't want to. That's a fair question.
It is a fair question, but I think it's a more of a red herring question, because the main issue, it is not necessarily what is a man or a woman. It is literally what is a transgender. That is the question that should be asked here,
because but it's only someone whose gender doesn't align with their sex.
I get the baseline explanation. That's fine. However,
where are you having problems?
The problem is when it comes
it's not
to
that simple.
Yeah, it's really not as simple. That's for one, and two,
man and woman, that's simple. And biological sex is simple.
And
is man so simple though?
Okay. Let me bring in this second point. Why is it that when it comes to Jeffrey Marsh, going back to the earlier point, why is it when it comes to Jeffrey Marsh, you don't see it as a... Remember, you said earlier there are, people that just pose as trans, they don't actually go through it, etc. Why is it when it comes to this grooming issue, you don't see it as his exclusive trans problem? Because we don't actually know if he's actually a trans person or if he's a pedophile masking as a trans.
Non-binary, by the way.
Isn't that a trans?
No.
Okay, what is that?
That is something that the opinions differ on.
That's why I didn't want to go into this earlier, because I'm literally trying to understand here, because I can have the discussion.
But why is it important to distinguish whether or not non-binary people are trans or not?
It's because of what you said.
I said a lot in the last 2 hours.
Okay, what said.
What specifically is the ramification?
Okay. What you said in the last 2 hours is there are people that put on a wig and do all this thing and pretend to be trans and invalidate other trans people. And all I'm saying is bringing that back and say, how comes you can't make the same argument for Jeffrey Marsh? Why is he not someone who has literally... I look at him, I'm like,
I never said anything about whether he's trans or not. I don't know why you're putting words in my mouth.
I didn't say you did. No. I completely... I did
Okay,
did
fine.
Not say you
Sorry.
Did. I'm saying from me looking at it, I'm seeing he's got makeup. Its body hair is showing. I mean, I don't even know. Should I joke about this? Let me joke about it. Let me nuke myself. He could have shaved a little bit, but that's each to their own. But the point is, this guy, all he's got is makeup on, right? And then he says he's flipping it, without non-binary whatsoever. I'm not even saying that to invalidate him or anything like that. I'm just trying to wrap my head around all of this, because if you are saying and you are pro-trans, I am neither pro. I am actually for. If somebody says, my position is, if somebody says I am this and that, I think we should take steps to find out what's going on, if they're okay, offer them some counseling sessions so that they can try and come to terms with what they are, going through, because it is like for example, I done an episode in regards to biracial identity,
Mm-hmm.
and I talked about Meghan Markle in that episode, and they and biracials, they inherently have a racial identity issue when they grow up. Like, you don't know if you're white, you don't know if you're black, you don't know what you are really.
Yeah, you are none. You're none of them entirely.
Yeah, exactly. So you will have identity issues at some point.
And a lot of intersectional issues.
Yeah. So yes, yeah, exactly. So I was saying they would be the perfect candidates or the perfect people to use transracialism to help them come to terms with whatever identity they are, because they have the ability to choose within the race that they want to identify with.
Mm-hmm.
And they should be counseling, and while doing this, they should be counseling sessions for them to to at least come to the comfort of them being biracial, or at least the race that they're choosing for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same point that I would make for a trans person. If they're saying I'm a man or woman or non-binary, etc., counseling should be the way forward, because I don't have that problem. Like, I'm a black man. I know I'm black. I'm also a man. I know, and I don't have this issue. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't have it.
You're a
Mm-hmm.
black man. I didn't know.
If my skin wasn't dark enough,
I'm joking.
but I don't have
I'm out.
the point I'm trying to make is I don't have and I, it's all starting in the mental. It is the point, and then it manifests.
Everything is mental.
Everything is
in
absolutely
the
mental.
end.
Yes. However, even saying for trans, etc., etc., even saying that it's a possible mental issue, that's invalidating, or is seen as.
Yeah, I think I can maybe phrase it in a way that makes it clear why that can be invalidating, because people are looking at transgenderism as an afwijking. Damn it.
No, personally.
English, why are you leaving? No, but like there's a normal, and then transgender is not normal. Like you're in any way disordered or defective or broken or whatever. But the I'm not saying you're saying that, by the way.
No.
Not necessarily. But the thing is that when a biologically born male feels like a woman, people have the tendency to medicalize it and disorder it and treat it as a problem, while their feeling female is as much of a fact as your feeling male.
That's the point. That's why I said.
So
That's
why
why-
is that being medicalized as they need help? Because you don't need help for being and feeling a man. So why do they need help for feeling like a woman?
That's exactly.
Is it because it goes against biology and what we know in science?
But we don't treat each other based on. I mean, I'm not behaving from my breasts, right? I'm behaving from my mind.
Yeah, but there's the science, and then there's the mind. What we think and what is reality. If you know what I mean, like.
Yeah, certainly. But as I said, there has been scientific evidence of that pregnancy shift and things.
It's not. There's not a lot of research into it. Actually, to be fair, though, that's one thing I will say. I do believe there needs to be far more research. And
Absolutely.
I said, if they come up with research and they say to us down the line that this is irrevocably true, right, and that there is a definite issue with the brain, the people being born in their own body.
For being gay.
No.
We cannot look at the brain and say this is where being gay is.
No, because that's been around since the beginning of man.
Yeah, so have transgender people.
The bonobo monkey.
Push back.
Actually, yes.
Push back. You're looking back. You're only looking as far back as the Roman Empire, because come on, it's not been that far back.
Yeah.
You can see it in other species.
Huh?
There is evidence of it in other species.
We are not other species. We are human beings. Let's focus on human beings. Why is it?
Because the fact that it exists in other species,
Yeah,
that
but that's
proves
like-
that it is
but that's
a
like saying
thing.
because a chameleon can change their skin color and
Yeah,
blend to the background,
you are
that
literally
humans can do
validating-
that too. I
like,
can't do that.
Personally,
No, but species
when I
close
said,
to us, like chimpanzees and
hold on.
gorillas.
hold on, when I said there is when I was talking about transracialism, I wasn't talking about it in favor for everybody to try to be whatever race they want. No, that's I think if
No,
you're
for those who are on the edge. I mean,
huh?
like for those who are biracial or
Yeah,
have,
literally exclusive for them.
like not for me as
not
a
for
white
you,
person to
not
suddenly
for-
decide I'm going to be black. Like
exactly,
that would
because
that
we
wouldn't
know
be-
that's
But you're
we
talking
know
about
that's an
genetics,
issue.
right?
Huh?
what?
But you're talking about genetics, though, right?
Wait, what with
When
race?
you talk about trans,
Well, I think that the
biracial
thing
people,
with
that's
biracialism is that genetically you are both.
yeah.
Genetically you
you're
are
talking
neither.
about the
But
fact
to have a
that
place in
they're minor.
society,
You shouldn't
we
talk about
kind
skin
of
color
require
problem.
people to pick a
They're
side.
both. Okay, someone's just said Hub Buskins just said the thing with that though is that it shouldn't matter about skin color. That is a problem with both races if that makes them feel uncomfortable. No, it's not necessarily
It's because of how society treats you.
yeah,
And that is also the same issue with transgender.
yeah.
It's about how society treats you as a man or a woman.
Like I was literally about to say that because even in the episode that I done, I say all these things literally exist because of the society that we've created. So because of that, I'm trying to find the best way. Well, at least I'm trying to come to an understanding of what is the best way to communicate with trans people, the best way to approach the issue without being a phobe, so to speak. Even though I personally hate that word phobe because I'm not scared of you. Like what the hell?
No, it doesn't literally mean.
I know, but this is the
Fear
problem with
anymore.
language. Like we know the language is void at this point, but that's what I'm saying. But what I'm trying to say is the issue, especially going back to Jeffrey Marsh and what I was trying to tag there. We can now talk about the non-binary aspect. Do you not see how convenient it is for him to step into that non-binary role and just say, "Whoop, you can't get me," because technically he doesn't filter into what we are actually talking about. He can. The only thing that I think works, and this is the part that always I never understood with the bathroom issue. In 2013, when I was in uni, when this whole thing was
I'm getting
kind
my
of
meds in the meantime, but I can hear you.
okay, that's fine. In 2013, when this was all coming new, it was bringing in the uni I had made gender neutral bathrooms for non-binary men and female. There was no such thing as a trans man or woman going into the other bathroom. There was none. Like otherwise, I just it was just gender neutral. I vividly remember this, and if there was no issues about trans man, trans woman using bathrooms, it's actually a new thing that I'm seeing, and I'm like, wait, this is an issue, because I thought the fact that they made a gender neutral bathroom for a non-binary individuals, sorry, so to speak, back then, and it's now going forward, and it's still going on with that. I thought they would have made a trans man bathroom and a trans woman bathroom, but
Now you
apparently
need like 5 bathrooms.
You have
That's
to
not going to
think-
make sense.
that's-
completely understood. But it's their own
But
space.
then my point would rather just be, why are we separating bathrooms in the first place?
because they want safe spaces.
Yes, because this is
Because of
what
the
this
history
is
of
this is the
there are
genesis. I
places
actually
where they
remember.
have
No,
there are places where they have never been separated, where they don't have issues.
Meryl, wait. Let me come. Wait. This
Let me
is.
come.
Let me come. Okay, sorry.
Hey,
In my
that's what
language,
they
in my
said.
native language,
I'm gonna make it appropriate. That's what they said.
Hold on. before you laugh, in my native language, let me come just means let me have this point, or let me make my point, let me land
I
my point,
know, I know.
etc. Like it just came out. It
But
just
this
came out. I'm passionate
interpretation
about
was
this.
funnier.
But but the thing is, yeah, the point I'm trying to make is the issue at the time. I remember seeing this from the student union. The issue at the time was we need our own bathrooms for our own space because we do not feel like we are men or women, and we need to have this space just for ourselves so that we don't go in here, go in here. That was the actual argument, and it was given to them based on that. Now, the issue, obviously, I can understand where you're coming from in regards to trans women wanting to go into women's bathroom, trans men wanting to go into trans bathroom. But I personally thought
Oh
for
no,
their
Caleb's
own
gone. I,
safe. Huh?
I was back. You're back. You went for a second there on mine.
Yeah, there was
Okay.
like a small switch in there. You're kind of doubled, but we can hear you fine.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like
sorry.
kind of double, but not echoey, like not with a delay. Just
Okay.
like you're talking twice at the same time.
Okay. Is it going
But it
now?
doesn't bother me.
No, he
So
sounds fine on mine. Sorry,
Who
maybe it
makes
was
them
just my
feel like
end. Then.
they're neither? Okay, so that's a good question. Who
I
makes?
I I- I'd say nobody. Why are we thinking of terms of making them feel
No, no,
like?
no.
Why
Okay,
cannot?
okay.
Why can't they just feel that way? Because who made you feel male?
Yeah, but that's
You
not the.
didn't. You just
Oh,
feel like
yeah,
that.
but you're going. We're now going into the cis argument. We're now going. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm trying to understand is
No,
the
I was responding to
non-binary.
what Hop Baskins was saying.
Okay.
Like, who makes them feel?
The point I was making was in regards to the non-binary issue, because
Hmm.
we now have pronouns like the she and her pronouns. I don't mind. Like I actually get that for trans men and trans women. I actually get that.
Yeah, that
If
makes
they,
sense.
Hmm.
it makes perfect sense. They identify as this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but is the they them and all these other? I'm
Oh,
sorry
what is
because
a fae? I still don't know.
like that's
What
what
the fuck
this
is
is
that?
where
All
there's a
right. All right. All right.
massive
All right.
this is where
Again, I feel like these kinds of things are an automatic resistant response, but not
no
really.
I am I
Because I always
I
get the same
sound
thing. Like it's
I
too much. I
sound
can't keep up. It's just so much. They're just
no
like
no
there's
no no
automatic
no no
resistance,
no
but
no
not
no
like
no no
this
no
is why I have a problem
let
with
me
this
disclaim
issue.
it is not resistance at all. It's I think it's down to my personality to
I heard it in
so
the
to
way you
speak.
said it. Like I
No
get
no
they
no
them,
no
and then
no
all these others, like
no
you were kind of
no
ridiculing it.
no let me explain myself. Big disclaimer, I was about to make this earlier, but a lot of it is probably down to my personality. But I am, when it comes to non-binary, I understand the trans men and trans women, but when it
Hmm.
comes to the non-binary one, I will admit I actually am very ignorant to that, and I don't have not enough knowledge on it. But that doesn't mean I don't have the context to how this started, because all these other pronouns that are now coming out, it it naturally isn't making sense to me. The reason why, because when this all happened back in 2013, when I experienced this and I learned this at the time, it was just they them, and now it's gone to a point that I'm like, okay, where are we going with this? That's where I'm trying to understand, because the people that we're identifying with as they them, at first I was like, okay, it causes a lot of problems legally, and I still think about that. But if I was to speak to them on social media, I'll use their pronoun. But if I was to see them committing a crime, I am not going to use their pronoun, because the police are going to think it's two or three people walking into a car, and when I write they them, like that's going to be the case. So I cannot
I
necessarily.
have a good one for that when you
But
finish.
Yeah,
but but
no
that
no
is
no.
like that
Let me
is.
finish off my point. Let me finish off my point. The point I'm building up to, and I have been building up to, is the is for the fake trans point that you were making earlier. This seems like the actual tool that they use to literally destroy the trans whatever activism, because the activism back then, to lead up to his point, has been very productive, but now is gone completely in my
So,
opinion,
if I
haywire.
understand you correctly, what you're saying is that you're wondering if non-binary is a legitimate thing.
Yes. I
Yes,
understood it at first. I actually
the
understood it.
answer is yes, because non-binary is often confused, which I completely get, by the way, because it is, especially if you just grew up where there was just man and woman and that was it, and
No,
there
no,
was
no, no,
not
no.
even a concept of trans. Like,
Okay,
I get,
okay,
I get why people are confused.
okay, okay,
I'm not
okay,
gonna,
okay.
I'm not gonna
Meryl,
scream at anyone like, why did you understand it? Because
Meryl,
we all had to
Meryl,
learn.
Meryl. Let
Yes.
me disclaim this so that you have this knowledge going forward. When I learn about the non-binary, etc., the they/them pronouns were not necessarily brought in. They were just wanted to call themselves gender neutral. That was the
Mm-hmm.
actual starting point. And they got their
Yeah.
own bathroom. It said, like that was the actual starting point. They/them came, I think, 2015, 2016, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory is serving me properly. Like that's when these pronouns started to pop up. And
I think it
now
was around that time, yeah.
I again, I'm just going by memory. But when it first hit, and they got their gender neutral bathrooms, etc., when my uni was trying to accommodate them, it was just gender neutral. We are non-binary. Like we don't want to identify as this, or this and that. That was it. So I, I'm
So
trying. I get.
what is the issue then?
I'm trying to understand how these pronouns came about because to me,
Okay, but now you're making two different arguments because
okay,
now you're going about why all these other pronouns exist while you were starting about
let,
destroying all trans thing and
let me.
erasing gender or whatever.
I'm making the point. The point is being made now. When it started off as gender neutral, etc., it was just non-binary. That was it. The reason why I'm saying that this pronoun seem like a disconnect is because we talked about the fake trans, etc. The fact that they have they, them as pronouns and all these other pronouns, it becomes now a validating tool that, hey, listen, I'm not part of this he, she, well, he, no, he, him, she, her. They're not part of that. And they have their own pronouns. So identify me as this. And it just like
But
then hold on,
there,
then the trans issue becomes a bit whitewashed because the he, him, she, her part was part of the trans identity. But now when the pronouns came in, from my understanding, it kind of muddied that up a little bit because gender neutral was away from that whole transition. They were like, nope, we just want to be non-binary. Am I making sense? Or am I very
well, you're kind of
ignorant?
talking in circles at the moment.
Okay.
So
Can I butt in here? I know I've got something to say. My only issue, I actually have non-binary friends, and I have no issue. We used to just have people that described themselves as androgynous when I grew up. You know,
Mhm.
and you had women who were tomboys, men who were feminine. We didn't really figure. Called them camp. So when we was younger,
yeah, there were a lot of less. I mean, there was a lot less judgment against masculine women than there was against effeminate men
Oh,
because
yeah,
it was like
definitely.
sissies and
Oh yeah.
that kind. There was a lot of homophobia surrounding it.
Oh,
We don't have
definitely. If
long
I
left, by the way, but
go
continue.
back to
Yeah,
the
no.
night, that's a whole other conversation. But I
Yeah.
grew up in the 90s, and I remember it very well. It's one of the reasons I didn't come out until I was in my 20s. But what I was going to say was, I think the issue is the whole they them pronoun. For me personally, didn't first hear about that until 2016 when I was, say, 28. I'd never heard of that or referring to somebody as they them. So
Well, you
when I was
have
then
though.
told, no, when I
No,
was
but
told to refer to people as they or them, it was considered insulting or dismissive. Oh, them, or oh, they over there, that them, that person.
I have a fun fact though because without knowing it, you have been referring to singular people with they them for as long as you've been speaking English. Because
Usually we're
English,
referring to
since
more
the
than one
time,
person, though.
no, but even for the
That's
singular, since the time of Shakespeare, and I'm not kidding, you can look this up, at least since the time of Shakespeare, at least for centuries, English
no
has
one is making
used
that
they,
argument, by
them.
the way.
English has used,
Shakespeare,
let me finish.
his English was stupid, though. Like, nobody speaks like that.
I'm not talking about his English. I'm saying
Oh,
that in
okay.
his time, it was
Oh, yeah.
already normal to refer to a singular person with they them if you did not know what their gender was. Because if you say, I'll ask a friend if maybe they can give me a ride.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's
And
fine.
we've been doing that for centuries, and it's
But-
even better because singular they predates singular you.
But we're
Which is a
talking
fact.
about, but we're just talking about what we grew up with. You see, I didn't grow up in Shakespeare times, believe it or not.
No, but you grew up using they them for people whose gender you didn't know.
Yeah,
You
because
just
they're
didn't say it to
yeah,
their
that's
face.
true.
yeah, but you
But that's
call those
because
people
we didn't know if
anonymous.
they were man. We didn't know if they were male or
Yeah,
female.
you call them.
That's the only reason.
It was a
But I'm-
contingent. It was a
But
contingent
why is
move.
it fine if you don't know to call to refer to them with they them? But is it not fine if they decide that they are neither?
No.
Why is it then suddenly a problem to refer to them the same way you would have done if you wouldn't have known their gender yet?
Because my
Because if you
mind-
are in a lineup, if you have seen someone commit a crime and they happen to be they them, you're not gonna think, oh, they're they them, so I'm gonna put down they them.
Okay, this is a non sequitur though, because that is
It's
not
not
an
a non
issue.
sequitur. It
No,
is
it's
an
not
issue.
an issue.
Say though, what I was going to
Wait,
say.
wait.
Let me just say one thing, right?
That is not an issue.
My brain, when I was 28, struggled when I had friends that wanted me to refer to them as they them, who I had been referring to as she or him my entire life. That specific person. Then I have to refer to them as they them, or I always said this them person or whatever. My brain kept getting so fucking confused by it because I'm 28.
Yeah.
It's very hard
No,
when I was 28 to learn new things.
I know that
right?
it's confusing,
Okay,
but
okay,
you
okay.
live with it. You move on.
Right.
No, but I
Meryl,
think they should just
Meryl.
have a better term. They should just have a different pronoun. I think they them is the wrong choice. They should
Meryl?
have their
Well,
own.
that is why they're experimenting with coming up with all kinds of different ones to see if one of them sticks and works better. That is
Okay.
why
It's
there are
just
all these
gone-
other
but
ones.
It's not working.
I understand.
It's just gone crazy.
That's fine
understand.
if it's not working, and then we move on and try another one.
Okay. Meryl, Stevie, I understand where both of you are coming from. I actually understand where Stevie is coming from. The point is, where Stevie is not resistant, wrong choice of word. Where Stevie is a bit uneasy, moving to
My brain just struggles with it.
where
That's all.
me, I have no
That's
problem.
so?
I have to think a bit. Hold on.
But
I have
they
no
get
problem.
annoyed when I don't call them they them. But it's
Yeah,
not
but-
intentional.
Well, they should
Yeah,
be
but-
patient with you.
Yeah,
They should
but
they should be
people are.
patient with you and
Some-
allow you
some
time to
are.
get used to it.
Some are, but some people aren't.
all right.
Yeah, and that's wrong. They should be patient.
Okay, but we're not having. That's not the conversation that we're having. The point that what we are having is, despite there being data, me personally, I don't care. I will use your pronoun. It will take me a bit of cognitive gymnastics to get used to it, but I will use it. That's fine. I will put a. I will. In fact, I used it today when I was told. There was a Rolling Stones writer, C.T. Jones, and I was speaking about her to my friend, and I literally had to think, what would they be? They would be he, she. So if I'm speaking, so that means I have to use they for whenever I use he, she, etc. And them is for him, her. I understand that part.
Yeah.
That's completely understandable. The issue will always go back to this, because this is where the disconnect lies for me. If I see CC Jones go into Tesco and CT Jones picks up a
loaf of bread,
a loaf of bread, TV, whatever, and runs out of the store, and then
why are you going to this very specific incident of not immediately
now
being able to see what pronouns someone's going to be using?
The reason, because we are proactive beings. We have the ability. Meryl, let me please.
Those people should not get mad at being mispronounced in that case, because you cannot see it from the outside, and they should not get angry.
No, I am not talking about being mispronounced. As CT walks out, yeah, and then like as CT Jones runs out, and I'm like, hey, stop her. And then she's like, hey, you can't, hey, I'm they them.
That is literally what I said. They should not be getting mad.
I get that. I am not saying for that
no,
scenario.
You interrupted me saying you were not making that point, but you are making that point.
Listen, I am not saying that for that scenario. I'm saying it for when I'm going to the police station, because if you let me finish, I would have said this. If CC Jones stole that, ran to the allegedly, by the way, all this is allegedly. It hasn't happened. But anyway, if she stole the TV, stole their loaf of bread, ran off into a car, drove off, I don't know who this person is, etc. And I'm asked right there and then by Tesco security, provide everything you saw. I'm gonna say I saw a woman. She
Yeah,
took a
that's
ticket
fine.
TV, etc. But they're saying that the system, the non-binary, etc., they're saying that the system should accommodate the they them pronouns, which then becomes extremely unrealistic because whether they them existed all the way back to Shakespeare times, the context for that existence is never been for gender identity. It's always been for anonymity. Anon. If you are
Anonymous.
anonymous, if you not even
Unknown, but it should be really simple because people who don't go by pronouns that are immediately visibly evident
yeah,
should
but you're not wearing your
accept
pronoun
the
on your head, are
fact.
you? Like
No, no, no. But let I let you finish.
okay, that's fine. I'm
But
sorry. I'm sorry.
people who are aware of themselves that visually they come across as a gender that would lead to a different pronoun than what they would identify as. Like if I go on the street, I expect people to register me as female, which is in my case fine because I'm a cisgender woman. But
Yeah.
if I feel like a male but I look like this, and I go out and people say miss and ma'am to me, I should not blame them or fault them for going with their first assumption. Because how the I don't know if I'm allowed to swear here. Probably not.
Yeah. Go
Okay,
ahead.
we
Go
can have
crazy.
one. How the fuck is anyone supposed to know? It would be so incredibly unrealistic. But the thing is, when I tell them, then it's a different situation.
Yeah.
So if that person steals something, runs off, and you give a description of a woman, even though they identify as non-binary or as a pre-transition trans man, whatever, doesn't matter. Like anything that's not a cisgender woman, but you describe a woman because that's what you saw. Which, again, by the way, in that case, you're describing her sex, not their gender, because you can see gender, and pronouns relate to gender, not to sex. But if then that person is going to be looked for by the police, they're also going to look like someone who looks like a biological female. And if they then take that person in and they're like, hey, I'm non-binary, so I would prefer it if you do like they, them, and alter that shit, then they should alter that in the records. But they have no responsibility to guess. And I get that people can feel pain or can feel hurt when someone assumes from them that they are a different gender than they are, but they should accept the fact that if you look like a woman, people are going to assume that you are a woman
Look,
until
listen.
told otherwise.
Before making my point, thank you so much, Hub, because I just saw the comment just now saying this is a great show. I listen. We just we just start. I really appreciate that. Honestly, I thank you, Hub Buskins. I'm trying so hard to, you know.
The cat was just like, oh,
Yeah, she thought I was going to stroke her there. I was doing
But
the
yeah,
front row.
yeah, she was like, oh.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry.
Meryl, I admire you for the way that you've approached this topic because it's very realistic. I am ignorant because I don't know enough about this stuff, and I'm not trying to invalidate anyone here. I am just trying to be as realistic as you are being. Do you know what I mean? Because you are being
You
very
know what
realistic
the you know
to
what
the
the
issue,
key is?
and to
We can learn from each other, can't we?
yeah,
The
but
key is when you're ignorant about something to automatically teach yourself non-judgment.
yes. Have I wait, let me ask you, have I judged on this show?
I know that you have no intention to. I know that you mean well. I know that you don't intend to judge or don't intend harm or whatever. It's just that in some ways that you're phrasing or bringing things, the way that you're talking about it feels a bit like, oh, that's weird. Whatever is that? Like I'm exaggerating it now, but that's a bit how it's coming across. And I know that you don't intend that. I know that, but that's what people might pick up on.
No, I completely understand. I honestly, this is walking like a minefield, and
It is super difficult. It
yeah,
is,
like
and people should
I
never just jump down anyone's throat for anything.
honestly, I'm probably the I am the type of person that if I do see that mine and I see loads of mines, I'll be like, fuck it, and just walk straight and hope for the best. That's the type of person I am. Because I have to try and get to the end. And anyway, I have to I can't stay here and not eat. I gotta try and reach the food at the end.
Yeah, but
well, you don't learn anything walking backwards, do you?
You know what I mean? But
or moonwalking.
But
I can demonstrate a good moonwalk here, but
but the point I was making in regards to this is because it's gone to a point that the discourse, like when it comes to speech, and I probably, because we're near the end of the show now, and it's probably the worst time to even land this point. We should have made this point from 30th minute. But when it comes to manners or speech, and when it comes to discussing this, there is such a massive disconnect between just sitting down and not even sitting down. Just when you're on Twitter, for example, and just trying to talk to people, this is the point that we have, the closest point that we have as humans to communicate with each other. Because let's be honest, we're not really going up to the nearest person on the street and saying, "Hey, how you doing? Oh, I heard you say this." Like, no one is doing that. So we need
we
to
do it on Twitter.
That's why we have Twitter. That's why we have
someone else's tweet.
You just pick up your phone and say, "Oh, I hate this person." Never happens.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just
you know what I mean? But the only platform,
you're a dog.
The only platform that we
I
have,
get that all the time.
The only platform that we have to have some semblance of a conversation that we just don't have in real life is gone. It's this is supposed to bring us to talk and these issues, but people inhale so much copium before they start talking, like that they lose their heads just because someone asks them a simple question. The reason why I say this is because of all the things that I've seen on my timeline in regards to Jeffrey Marsh, and the fact that his pronouns are very difficult to pin down. He's very difficult.
They're not very difficult to pin down because when you Google it, it says that
I know, but he looks
so.
But he literally.
It says that they identify as non-binary. So
I get it, but
it means like when you actually look at him, if you don't know that, you just see him.
No, but I'm not expecting anyone to know that by looking at anyone.
Yeah,
I'm not even expecting people to know that I am going by she, her. I'm expecting people to assume. I'm not expecting people to know.
No, I completely understand that, but that's the point. When I look at him, I'm assuming he's a trans woman. So when I learn he's a data, I'm like, that's a bit convenient.
Yeah, I thought he was.
When I look at Jeffrey Marsh, what I see is a drag queen, honestly, but that's just me.
I mean, I see a groomer, but that's a different story.
I see that too. I have two eyes. I can see both things at once.
Yeah, but I really want an answer to this question. What can I say? What can be said for you to question whether Jeffrey Marsh is a real transsexual or not? Sorry, transgender or not? Or
can you rephrase that? Because what can be said is kind of open.
Okay. You said earlier that a trans, we still haven't reached a distinction where you are actually a trans man or woman. Is it when you
whether it's genuine or not? That is basically that's the point.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you genuinely feel like a different gender, or are you consciously, knowingly, willingly, intentionally faking it?
This is the point I'm trying to make. When you make, for example, trans, because I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong here, if a trans man goes, actually, let me also ask this question: what prison is Jeffrey Marsh going into if he was to commit a crime?
That is just like with the sports issue, a separate issue that we need to hammer out, and we need to talk about, and we need to think about what would be best in this situation, which I currently do not. I have looked into it. I have read into it. I currently do not have a suitable answer because it's simply not feasible to make different prisons for cis and trans men and
Okay.
women.
Okay.
So I don't have an answer for that
That's
currently.
fine, that's
but
fine.
it is I recognize that it is an issue.
I actually know quite a bit about that, but we won't talk about that now.
That's
No,
fine.
but I mean I don't know why that question is necessarily relevant to know the answer to for us, because we are not the people who are going to send them to prison.
That's
if
fine.
they
That's fine.
are going to.
That's fine. I completely understand that. The reason why I asked it like that is
You just want to know how to identify Jeffrey Walsh?
No,
Marsh?
not know how to
Matt Walsh,
identify.
I got confused.
It is not know how to identify Jeffrey Marsh. It is knowing whether Jeffrey Marsh is a fake trans or a real trans. That's all.
How does that relate to the question what prison they would go to?
Because
yeah, no, wait, I take that back. I see why.
Yeah,
Never mind.
I think he's saying
Scrap that.
If he was identifying as a woman, would he be put in a women's prison?
Yeah, I get your point, but they don't even identify as a woman, but
that's fine.
Non-binary person.
But
there's still a legitimate question of, okay, where does that leave non-binary people?
Okay, but going back to the original point.
Question. I always wanted that.
Yeah, but that's a very loaded question.
And it's fine if we as a society currently do not have an answer yet. That's fine.
Yeah, that's why we should probably just stick to man, woman separately.
I think that is why we should stick to talking about it.
No.
Oh,
what
yes,
I mean is,
yes.
stick to man, woman until we reach a proper solution, because I've seen instances where trans men have been put into women's prison and got 2 women pregnant in that prison. That's a real thing that happened. I think her name was Demi or something.
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah, what gives me
and obviously there's the Leah Thomas winning the women's sport event, when, you know, the woman that came second would have won that if Leah Thomas wasn't there.
Yeah.
Okay, but if Michael Phelps didn't join the swimming competition, the other person would have won.
We get it.
No,
get it.
But,
it's a different.
Leah Thomas shouldn't be there though in the first place, because.
But Michael Phelps has physical advantages, like he has like specifically longer limbs or whatever.
He's a man against other men.
Yes.
Yeah, but we have someone who's physically more fit to swim. Like
that is not about physicality, though. It's not about physicality.
Sports are inherently about physicality. That's why we even separate them in the first place.
Look, the problem
it's inherently a physical competition.
No. You did not separate.
No.
You did not have.
It's not a fair playing field if you have a man versus a woman.
Yes.
It never can be.
It never was.
It's not an insult towards women saying they.
But that's what I'm saying. Because of physical differences, there is just a different winner in a competition because their body is better equipped to.
You are equivocating so much. They did not split women and men because they were physically. They split them because they were literally. You are taking a tiny nugget of the. Okay,
reason. They were splitting them because finish the sentence.
They were splitting them
because genetically there's an unfair advantage. And
yes, it wasn't because of their physical outlook, etc. Like, let me bring the example in football. For example, it is not just physicality that you have to consider. There's also stamina. There is also
stamina is physical. Higher testosterone levels give you more endurance.
Well, I think what you mean.
There are already sports competitions where they look at testosterone levels, even if you're a cis woman, and you can get disqualified for it.
That's because you've been taking things you shouldn't be and giving yourself an unfair advantage.
Well, but there was a cis woman who was, I don't know her name, but there was a cis woman who was disqualified for having naturally higher testosterone levels just from birth.
Because
just from physical things.
Because
not because she was taking
advantage. She was given an unfair advantage because it's not fair.
Yeah, exactly. But the reason I brought up Michael Phelps, and again, I'm not saying that I have an answer to this question, but the reason I bring up Michael Phelps is that we need to consider that sports are inherently, because the people who are going to win are the people who are going to have a physical advantage over the rest. Where do we draw the line?
Hold on. This is not boxing. We need to bring a bit of context to what you just said. The woman that got disqualified was never disqualified before. It's because of these new rules that has been brought in to accommodate trans. That's it. before she was actually running and winning titles, and there was no issue because she was actually a woman. They didn't split.
Yeah,
They didn't split these leagues to different.
Why aren't women happy now then that someone has been disqualified because they have an unfair advantage? If that's the whole reason they want to
Because men
exclude
don't
trans
have it.
women.
Because men don't have it. They don't.
yeah.
That's not what I was saying. I mean, why aren't
Yes.
women celebrating
watch
that this
the
woman
reason-
got? Why aren't women celebrating that this woman got disqualified because she had an unfair advantage? That's
She
what
was
they
a
want,
woman.
right?
She was naturally a woman. She shouldn't have
Yeah,
been
but she had an
disqualified.
unfair advantage.
She
And why
didn't
is
have
it,
an
why is it okay to disqualify someone for an unfair advantage if they are cis, and not okay to disqualify them if they're trans? Like, I mean, where do we draw the line at this is too much of an advantage to compete?
I feel like you can see
You
it.
just split up men and women.
Yeah, I feel like you can
You
see
just
it,
got
but
to
you
split
just
men and
don't.
women. When it comes to sport, we just have to split up men and women. We can't interlope. That woman that you said, the trans woman that went to UFC and did some fighting, she broke another woman's skull because she's naturally got that male genetic.
And male boxers have never broken other male boxers' skulls?
Very, very rarely. Very
Okay,
rarely
but this is
ever.
one instance, so one instance is anecdotal.
Well, this is the only instance that they
Yeah,
Also,
it's never
there are
happened in
also
history.
cis women. There are also cis women winning from trans women. So
That's not the argument. That's a
not the
complete
argument,
goal
yeah.
shift. That's not the argument.
but they can win even though they have that physical advantage.
It's natural. When a woman goes up against another biological woman, it's natural, right? And when a biological man goes up against a biological man, it's natural. Like that is. There's many
Okay.
things to consider.
Okay. But
Let's
if
be
you're
honest.
if you take an exam, you personally, I mean Steve specifically,
We got 10 minutes,
and
by the way. 9 minutes from now. I'm going on
yeah,
straight with
if you take an exam and you are not allowed to take your bipolar meds because that would stabilize you mentally, and it is not natural for you to have those medications, and the exam needs to be fair, so they take away those medications. Because your argument was like it's not natural. Well, your natural state would be unmedicated bipolar.
Okay.
So why shouldn't you be exempt?
That's
And this is devil's advocate, by the way. I'm not saying like this is 100% the side I'm on. I'm just asking questions to find out where we are.
Meryl.
This is devil's advocate. Like
those meds aren't giving me an unfair advantage. They're actually just balancing me out. They're not making me better or worse necessarily. In fact, when I'm off my meds, I can be much more intelligent. The meds can actually dull my senses.
Yes.
And
well, I'll take your position on that.
Yeah,
I mean, I have
like-
ADHD.
Like
No,
I have
You
personally.
need to rub it in.
Hold
But
on.
I get that because that's the argument I make about ADHD meds, and that's why I said it's devil's advocate is not the position I'm taking. But with my
Personally-
ADHD meds, it's the same thing. I'm getting normalized, and I hate the word normal, but I'm getting
Yeah,
normalized so that
I
I'm
know.
sort of at the same level as people who don't have ADHD.
Personally, I can even opine on this as well.
Your mic is
your
failing.
mic is swaying. That's the worst time for it to go.
I'm sorry, by the way, I'm sorry for everyone who's watching that I'm fiddling so much with my hair. If it's bothering people, I'm so sorry. Again, I have ADHD. My meds have worn out 5 hours ago, so that means that my hands are super restless.
Yeah. So
So I hope that is
am
not
I back
bothering
here?
anyone.
Am I back?
If it is, just
We
please
can
be
hear you.
honest
Okay.
and tell me.
All right. So the point I was making was
Not bothering me. by
I
the way.
had psychosis, right? I had psychosis, and I was taking alloperidol, which is an antipsychotic.
Mhm.
That also didn't give me an unfair advantage. So again, the mental. I'm not gonna say gymnastics because, but it's on the nose. The mental point is kind of. It goes.
Okay,
It
yeah,
goes.
yeah, okay.
It goes two ways. But the point. Let me go back to what I was trying to say before. What I was trying to say before was, let's just cut to the chase. If I go up and try to fight Ronda Rousey, I am not winning that fight. But I'm a man. I
I don't know who that is, by the way.
Ronda Rousey is a UFC fighter that is the best UFC fighter in the women's division. Rocky Pennington Rocky Pennington as well. If I was to go up and fight these people, they will kick my
A
ass
different
down.
Rocky Pennington.
Oh,
Yeah,
they beat my ass, man.
yeah, a different Rocky Pennington, but naturally, scientifically, and they're not like it doesn't just mean just because they can beat my ass, you just put them into the men's league. No, that's not
Okay,
like,
but what
That's
about
great. Someone just asked a really good question.
what about the trans people who were on puberty blockers, who never experienced the puberty associated with their biological sex and are therefore have not developed the same kind of advantage that a transitioned trans woman would have who has gone through male puberty first?
That's
Again,
a good question, but it's
very
also a problem because I don't want kids to be put on puberty blockers. But say they
Okay, but
say
that's separate from the question
they
from what we
did
do with
get-
these
okay.
people.
But say they did get put on puberty blockers, there has been scientific proof to say that they will not develop the same sort of masculinity and body strength and stamina that a man does because they didn't get that through puberty. I think they should be able to compete with other women because they are essentially a woman because they did not go through puberty as a man. Going through puberty as a man, I remember being a skinny little 15-year-old boy, right? And then 3 years later, I'm starting to get bigger, just naturally. I'm not doing anything. I'm just getting bigger. Get to 19, 20, and I'm like 15 stone. And I'm like, I was 11 stone about 3 years before that.
Trying
Not
to do
a lot of
mental
change.
calculations.
yeah,
How many
and this
kilograms
is
is that?
yeah, and this is where
I don't know. I'm terrible.
No,
with
it's
grams.
about, I think it's about 6 kilos to a stone or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Don't
This
quote
is
me on that.
I'm terrible with stuff like that.
based on everything that you just said, Meryl and Steve, because I actually understand this argument when it comes to puberty blockers, etc. If you have been proven to be on them and you haven't developed as a man, etc., we can forget the trans issue and all of that. We can go to the sports issue and say, yeah, they are naturally women because they haven't gone through all these things, etc. I actually don't mind if they were to compete. I actually don't mind. The problem is it is Leah Thomas because she never had that.
Well, Caitlyn Jenner, is a great example because she has actually come out and said, and she was an Olympic gold medalist when she was Bruce Jenner, won the gold in, what was it, hurdles, running? I can't remember now. But now she's transitioned to Caitlyn Jenner. She's basically saying that only people that have been on puberty blockers should be able to compete with other women because she has been through athletics as a man. And she would have completely obliterated all the women if she went and did that as a woman.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And she even says that herself. I think she's a great example.
Yeah,
I quite like her actually.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense.
And I remember people calling her, transphobic and all of that just for saying that. What she is saying is literally like the problem is not trans competing with women. The problem will always go down to biology and not genetics, because even in genetics, like this is why I was trying to bring in the football example earlier. Physically, some players cannot compete with other players, like in football. Like there are so many varying differences. But if you were to throw a woman in there, like who's the best player in the world right now that plays for Arsenal women? Madima, yeah. If you were to throw
I'm the wrong person to ask.
If you were to throw she's Dutch. Come on, you should have at least known that. How do you not know who Madina? I forgot her name, but I know who she is.
Madima, what?
Yeah, is it Joris Madima? I forgot her first name, but she's amazing.
Vivian.
She's
Vivian
in the women's league.
Miedema.
Yeah, in the women's league, she's amazing. She risks it up. But if you put her in the Arsenal team right now,
oh, she'd look terrible.
Unfortunately,
it sounds bad, but she'd be terrible.
Yeah, like even when you look at the reaction times of the goalkeepers to even
how do you spell that?
Miedema.
Oh Jesus, you people are English.
What?
That's not how you pronounce it. Not in the slightest.
Well,
it's just Miedema.
Miedema. Okay, fine. made
I was
about.
like, my edema, like, I don't have edema. It's certainly not
To be
mine,
fair,
my edema.
though-
Maybe it's your edema, but I don't have
Fair,
edema.
though, I'm going by what the commentators have called her, and
It's
apparently,
fine. I mean, I'm just messing with y'all, but I'm like, really, that doesn't sound Dutch at all,
Yeah,
because
but
it is just edema.
yeah, but I'm not saying I didn't say all of that to like discredit or anything. She's actually amazing.
oh, she's fantastic.
She actually
amazing.
blows every other woman apart, and that is why like it's like comparing Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo to everyone else. Like that's the main email of that world. But she would never exist if you were to throw a man in there. If you start throwing trans
Well, depends on what man, because there's loads of men that are worse footballers than she
men
is.
that
Well,
did not
here's
go
a
through
good
puberty
example,
blockers.
right?
That did not go-
I wasn't a bad goalkeeper when I was younger. In my mid-20s, I sort of stopped bothering with it, right? Because I wasn't good enough to play in any of the leagues in England. But if you put me in the women's division, I would be brilliant because my reactions would naturally good compared to women's. That sounds bad to say, but
But if
that's
I put you on that
that's
football
genetic.
field now, she would annihilate you.
Yeah, she would because
Yes.
she's in much better
Yeah,
shape.
because there's but there's no argument.
She's
There's no
younger than me.
argument.
Yeah, but that's his
It's not
point.
the argument that all men are better than all women.
That's his point, though. But that's his point.
No,
you
but-
can't just because she would annihilate him, you can't just take
Yeah.
her and put her into a men's league now.
That was not my argument.
But most men's leagues would
That's the
annihilate
opposite of
her.
my argument.
Okay.
My argument wasn't that you should just throw her in with the men. That's not what I was saying. I'm saying that the argument that
Well, throw men in,
some
in with
players are
her.
better than others of the other gender, it doesn't mean that all men are better than all women or the other way around.
No,
It's just
no,
people are
but-
differently good at different things, and not everyone's had the same training as everyone.
Okay, but all I'm going to say, that's a fair comment, and obviously there are women that are far more intelligent, far more sporty than me. I'm not debating that.
There's
But
lots of
the-
15-year-old girls that could definitely kick my ass. I mean, I bruise like a peach, so.
But the best man versus the best woman in any sport, the man will always win.
No, I'm not convinced.
No, that is true. The best man.
I think it
in
would
any
be
sport
most,
versus the
but
best
not
woman.
all.
Listen,
It would be
let's-
all. You
listen.
put the best female UFC fighter versus the best male UFC fighter, he'd kill her. He would kill her.
Let's be
Boxing,
honest.
same
Let's be
thing.
honest. Let's be honest. If you put
I
Lionel
don't know,
Messi,
because
if you
women
put,
women
let-
are also more compactly built. They can be more nimble. So sports that
No.
rely not on brute force violence, but on like being quick and being nimble and being flexible and being like
Brock,
that would
Brock
probably
Lesnar
still.
Brock Lesnar would annihilate any woman in the UFC.
But I'm saying not
Okay,
every sport, not
alright.
every sport is beating each other up.
guys,
know, but
guys,
even the
guys. I'm gonna have to bring it to an end. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to bring it to an end because it's been.
It's not to say,
Yeah.
by the way, that women can't do things. Just to be clear, women
Yeah,
obviously like
Look,
are very
listen,
talented
listen.
and they are great. It's just that men genetically, it's just a genetic thing.
But it's only on power. It's
Okay,
not
but
necessarily on.
yeah, but you are missing the point. You're missing the point. And I'll make this last point before I go. If you were to put the best man in the league, it's arguably I'll say Lionel Messi just for argument's sake. But it's Lionel Messi. If you were to put Lionel Messi in the women's league to play, he is breaking his record of 856 goals that he scored or something around that figure that he scored in them competing with men. Where he had to be subliminal, exceptional, beyond exceptional. He's breaking from 800 to 3,000. I'm pretty certain that would be he will probably be the all-time goal scorer in the entire planet.
You realize that trans women take female hormones and therefore don't have the levels of testosterone,
That wasn't the
etc., that
argument.
men have
But they've still
anymore.
gone through puberty as a man, though. That's the difference.
Yes.
And that's what puberty blockers were for.
Yeah. That's why.
And
that's
then they
what-
can compete if they take
Yes,
the puberty blockers from
yes.
a young age.
We are-
But again,
we
I
are
don't
actually
particularly
agreeing with this.
agree with the fact that they should be taking the puberty blockers. That's a different debate, though.
I mean, of course, puberty blockers should ideally be like, and ideally they would be 100% safe, 100% reversible, 100% you'd have identical results whether you take them or not take them. We don't live in a perfect world, so it's not entirely the case. But I think as they are now, and they are going to improve as they are now, they are proven to be fine enough that a trans woman who hasn't gotten puberty blockers in the past is going to have a far bigger advantage on the sports field than a trans woman who has gotten puberty blockers.
That's fair. That's why we're saying
Yeah.
let them have it. That's why we're saying let them in, and let.
Look, if they're gonna take it and there's nothing
Well, that
they
is
can
a
do about
it is
you
a
know,
possibility
yeah.
to draw the line not at whether you're cis or trans, but draw the line at whether if you're trans you have or have not taken puberty blockers.
Well,
That would be a reasonable avenue to explore. I'm not saying it's going to be the answer, but I think that is one of our
Well, that's a
most
middle
promising
ground.
avenues to go into.
That's
Okay.
a good middle ground.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah,
I'm glad
because
that we reached.
it gets to the core of why trans people in sports are an issue.
No, I'm glad that we reached that understanding, because well we have run out of time. We have run out of time, unfortunately.
Yeah, I need to be in bed in 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's fine, it's fine. But I thank both of you for
It's my own fault.
I thank both of you for having this discussion with me, because I have been trying to answer. Maybe we will get the answer for when.
I think we do need to revisit the subject.
Yeah,
There's a lot to talk about.
it is a lot. And we will still have to answer the question of when is the identification point, because it's still up in the air, and there's so many things that we didn't. But we have to wait for the next J.K. Rowling controversy or the next Jeffrey Marsh controversy or whatever, because that's what we do on this show. We talk about controversies, and we have the deeper the deeper underlying issue in that controversy, which is why this show hasn't been crafted around Hogwarts Legacy, because we haven't talked about a lot about the bullying that's gone on that one. But the main issue is, well, the not the main issue. The great point is, at least we got here in terms of the transport, because I feel like that discourse has been missing. It has been. No one has talked about the fact that we need to understand the nuance between the puberty blockers and those that are not without it, and why we should bar them and accept these guys, because they've actually transitioned from a young age, and they have lived their life as that for so long. I feel like this should have been the point of identification that should have been made earlier, but it becomes a lot more nuanced when you are an adult trying to identify. So I can understand how difficult it is to actually try to unpack this in a half an. I was trying to make it 1 hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours, but it's it's overstretched now to this, because the point is, we're all human beings. We're in one society, and we have to work with each other, at least to progress, because we can't fight each other. Like we have to talk. We have to talk. But anyway.
Yeah, we learn more
the next
from talking with each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shouting at each other, nobody learns anything.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Absolutely. No. You're 100% right. But the next show that we have is going to be on the whale, the fat phobia issue, the
Body positivity,
body positivity, all of
whether
that.
the government should have a role in
Whether
anything of the sort.
Yeah, like when is government intervention needed? Because that show, to me, I'm like, there is a
And
lot.
when is it okay? Oh, your mic is blowing out again.
Oh, what are we saying?
Now we've got nothing.
The whale? You're talking about the movie?
Yeah,
Brendan
with
Fraser.
Brendan Fraser.
So
Yeah.
so
I'm guessing... Oh, you're back. There you go.
yeah, so basically, yeah. Thank you, Mike, for stopping my outro. But yeah, that's what we're gonna talk about on the next episode of this podcast, where it's the one with the whale. That's what that's what it's gonna be called. It's gonna be centered around Brendan Fraser and his recent Oscar win, and how fat suits are now seen as blackface. We will talk about it on that show. It's coming up on the 18th of April. So do save your time on that. Thank you for everyone that has joined and stayed to the end. It was These shows are supposed to be 2 hours max, not even 2 hours max, 1 hour 30 minutes max. But
We're sorry.
We're so sorry. We are so sorry. It's not supposed to be this long, but this conversation is so nuanced that that's how long it took. The same way as the allegations, the rape, essay, and now we
Yeah.
so it can't get like this. So we appreciate you for staying on board, and we will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much, Meryl. And Steve, once again for joining us as a guest. I
Thanks for
appreciate
having
you.
me.
No, you are the most level-headed
You're
person I've
welcome.
met. And you as
I'm
well, Meryl.
trying.
You as well, Meryl. Thank you for being here. And well,
Yeah, I've
hope.
enjoyed debating with you, honestly.
I did
Oh, I
too.
mean that. I do mean that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
thank you very
Otherwise, when I
much.
said I'm
Opposite
out, I would
opinions.
actually have been out.
That's
I came back, so
what I said about 8 years ago. I'm out. I'm in the closet though.
All right.
now I'm out.
All right. Well, we are
Matrix
definitely out
house.
now. We are definitely out now. So take care, everyone, and have a great evening or daytime or morning, wherever